Press start.
Well, it's funny you guys mentioned Bill Clinton. My wife and I just finished watching through Derry Girls. You guys ever watch that show?
I don't know if I know that one.
No.
It's on Netflix. It was like a it was like a I don't know if it was BBC or like Channel 4, whatever one of the things over in the UK is, one of the channels that, sometimes that content gets picked up by a streaming service. I think Last Kingdom is a good example of that, where it was a BBC show that got picked up by Netflix. So anyway, so Derry Girls is kind of the same way. It got picked up from some channel, some network over there, and basically it's what it sounds like. It's these girls who are in Ireland, but it's set in the mid '90s. The writer, of course, grew up in Ireland, so she wanted to tell stories from her teenage life in the mid '90s. And most of the show until the very end is just super silly, very funny. I actually think it's very clever, very cleverly written, really funny characters. And some people don't love the Irish accent, so if you really hate listening to Irish accents, you won't like this show. But I find their accents to actually make it even funnier. Some of the stuff they're saying and some of the hijinks they get into. It's a really funny show, and there's a whole episode around Bill Clinton coming to visit and make a speech there. And that's when I didn't really know when the show was. I didn't put together when the show was set until several episodes in. I was like, this doesn't feel modern, but I know it was recent. It was made like 3 years ago. It's just set in the '90s, like right in the mid-90s. So, like
That's
during
just
all
being
the
a thing
Irish,
more often, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna start now fetishizing the '90s and making shows and things.
Oh, we've actually been doing that since the '90s ended.
We have indeed.
Yeah. our generation just goes no, and just hung on to the '90s, and we're kind of still on it. So
that's how we operate, guys. That's how we do things.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's start episode 137. We've got most of us here. Not sure if Derek's gonna arrive or not. I know he's been gaming a lot, so he might have some things to say, and he might want to jump on. We'll see if Derek joins us. But Dan, Jeff, Kyle, and myself are here. And listen, before we get into talking about games, I want to test our knowledge. No Kahoot, okay? Don't get too excited. We're gonna take a quiz together, though. So let me move this over. This is a history of video games quiz, and let me share my screen.
A co-op quiz.
Just for me.
What? You're gonna be fine. Everyone's gonna be fine.
I know too much. I have more of a movie encyclopedia type brain than a gaming one.
I have not taken this. I just have it open, and we'll see how it goes. This quiz might suck.
All right.
All right.
Can you guys see this?
Yes, I can see.
Yes. Sir.
All right. So we're gonna pick these answers together.
What?
Just clear my throat.
All right.
Oh God. Okay.
All right. So let's pick these together. Here we go. So there's 10 questions. In 1958, physicist Willie Higginbotham invented an interactive game played on an oscilloscope. The first video game was similar to
got a bad feeling about this.
Table tennis, Pac-Man, or Asteroids.
First of all, that's not a real. That Willie, whatever his name is, that's not a real person.
This could be made up, guys. I found this by doing a Google search, so this could all be made up.
Oh yeah.
I'll go with Asteroids.
You think I think it's like table tennis.
Table tennis.
Yeah. I think it might be Pong, right? No, it was Pong after that. Well, I'm going. What do you think, Kyle? We got to pick together.
Any idea? Did you say? I mean.
Are you abstaining?
Yeah, I'm table tennis. Why not?
All right. I don't know if it'll tell us if we're right or not. Uh-oh.
And maybe not till the end.
Yeah, maybe
not.
Tim
has a virus.
We got it.
Oh, we got it.
Okay, there you go, guys. Good job.
Yeah, I feel really good.
Good job, guys. Yes. Good job. All right, question 2. Atari's first game, Pong, similar to table tennis, was so named because the name ping pong was already copyrighted, and Pong is the sound the game makes when the ball hits the paddles. The person who developed the game is nicknamed Pong, or the word Pong means tennis in Japanese.
Jeff?
Jeff, you speak Japanese?
Yeah, Jeff.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I humbly choose you to take this one.
Is it because it's the sound it makes, you think?
I think it is that. I actually do think it is that.
Or do you think it's the nickname of the person who developed the game?
Yeah, it's got to be. It might be the sound. God, this one
was Was Pong created by a Japanese dev?
I don't
trying to.
think so.
I thought it was
It was
Jim,
Atari.
Pong, Thaddeus. That's what I
Right.
thought
So
it was.
Atari would not be. Yeah. So
Pong.
Atari would. So it wouldn't be those last two then, right?
So it's got to wait. If you said if it's someone with a nickname Pong, that's his nickname, right?
Yeah, but that's nonsense, right?
That's ridiculous. Yeah. Why should
Okay.
it be that? But like,
Here we
that's the
go.
one I think it's the least.
We're doing the sound it makes. See if that's right. Boy, this
Pong?
Fact Monster website. Correct.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
We are correct.
I
Nice.
felt good about that one. Yeah.
All right, we're 2 for 2. In the classic video game Donkey Kong, the hero was originally named Jumpman. Jumpman was later named Mario by members of the Nintendo of America staff because of his resemblance to who? Actually, should be to whom, but whatever. Is it Mario Andretti, the race car driver? Mario
No.
Segali, the landlord? Boy, some typos going on. Or Mario
I think they're typing it like Italian. Landlord.
Landlord.
Lord. Okay. Yeah.
I like
don't know.
that, Jeff.
Yeah.
I'm on board with that.
Property.
Or Mario Puzo, the famous author. I think it's the race car driver.
Really?
Mario. I don't know.
Really? I got no clue, to be
Was
honest.
Andretti racing back then? That seems like so long ago.
I think so. In the 80s, I think he was.
I'm betting their landlord. I feel like it
That's
was
what
an
I
inside
kind of
joke.
gut felt.
Okay,
as
landlord.
well,
Dan, what do
yeah.
you think?
That honestly actually sounds familiar.
Landlord.
So
All right.
does race car driver though.
That
God
one
damn
rang
it.
true for me. The landlord.
You know what? The two. Even if I pick race car driver, two.
Who am I
would be-
thinking? I might be thinking of Andretti, like his son or something that was racing later.
Michael Andretti, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's try the
well.
landlord. Let's try the
But
landlord. Let's see what happens.
Mario Puzo wrote The Godfather, so I don't know.
It's
Yeah,
correct.
there we go.
Yeah.
So,
It's
we're
the
doing
landlord,
great,
Mario
guys.
Segali, the landlord. Guys, we're 3 for 3.
Bunch of
We're so
Josh
good at
Tang
history.
geniuses. Yeah, we're
Okay,
amazing at
so-
history.
We are historians. We are certified historians after this.
Yeah, after
Um,
this, we're gonna get it printed off.
Yeah.
I cannot wait
Yeah.
for our degree to come in the mail after this. The founder of Atari, who also founded the nationwide restaurant franchise Chuck E. Cheese, was
Damn
that's
it,
Ralph.
his
that's-
first name's not
it's
Charles.
Ralph,
That's Ralph
right?
Bayer, right? It's not Steve Russell or Nolan Bushnell. I think it's Ralph Bayer.
Yeah,
Was-
it's
Yeah, that
Oh,
sounds
okay.
right.
All right, we're going with it.
I'm extremely disappointed that the person that founded Chuck E. Cheese was not first name like Charles or something.
I was wrong. It's Nolan Bushnell.
Oh,
Oh.
Oh no.
I've never heard of any of those people, so
Nolan
Yeah.
Bushnell. I really thought it was Ralph Bayer.
Ralph
What's
Bayer sounded very familiar,
It
but
did. All right. Well, too bad we're wrong. It was called Pizza Time Theater, by the way, when Chuck E. Cheese first opened in '77.
not theater.
nice.
All right, guys, it's okay. We're 3 for 4, not too bad. Number 5, Nintendo is a Japanese word meaning leave luck to heaven, fun television game, or too much excitement.
oh my gosh.
All right, hold on, real quick though, because the letters are so small. I thought that said "leave fuck to heaven."
Oh yeah, no.
Not
Yeah.
tell what that said, so I apologize.
I can
Leave
zoom
luck
in
to
a little
heaven
bit.
does feel like a Japanese like idiom or
Okay.
something. It feels a little too specific to be random.
I
You know
feel
what I
like
mean?
we should all know this, and like
But I don't think it's a
1000%
fun
know-
television
I-
game
I
because
don't know this. Yeah.
I think they were a
No.
toy company before doing.
They were, yeah. It's definitely
Yeah,
not that
yeah,
one.
yeah.
It's
So it's
I-
either too much excitement or leave luck to heaven.
I'm gonna go too much excitement is my guess.
Okay.
I don't know. Could be the heaven one.
Yeah, it could be because I just feel like it's too specific to just be.
Yeah, you could be right. Dan,
right,
what
I don't know.
what do
I
you
don't
think?
know. That's
We'll
tough.
go with leave F word to heaven.
Leave
Okay.
luck to heaven.
Sure.
Kyle,
yeah.
you go with that? You don't care.
Yeah,
All
I don't want to split the vote. So yeah.
right. Let's see what it is.
Third party throwing your vote away.
It is leave luck to heaven.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Third party throwing your vote away. All right. We always got to get political around here.
Yeah, right.
Um,
right.
We love
All right.
politics.
The name Atari also comes from Japanese. It's a term used in the Japanese game Go, and it's equivalent to the term check in chess.
Hmm.
All right, guys, we're 4 out of 5. Doing pretty good. Coleco, the company known for the ColecoVision home video system, stands for Connecticut Leather Company, Colorado Lens Company, or Colorado Lead Coal. I would not have thought it was.
I didn't
What?
know it stood for anything. That's kind
It's
of
got to be one of the Colorado ones, because why would there be two there?
right.
That's just like testing
Lens?
101.
I don't
Unless
see
it's to
them.
throw you off.
It's got to be lens, right?
Because that's the only
lens-
technology-related thing.
Yeah,
right?
like
Camera
why would they
lens.
be making it? We made it out of coal, guys. It
It's not a
fucking doesn't
leather
work.
company. You know, it's not a leather company, and I don't know if coal has anything to do with it. So
Did they do? I wonder if Coleco might have done cameras and then did a video game system.
Sure,
right?
sure,
I'm
Possibly.
here for that. I follow that logic all the way
Well,
to the home plate. Let's
Yeah,
slide
like
in.
lens, like actual lenses.
Using
Yeah.
using your vision
For
through a
camera.
lens.
All right,
Yeah.
we're going with it. We're
Sure.
going with it. Colorado Lens Company. Are we correct?
Be leather. It's gonna be leather.
We are No, it's leather. It's leather. You're right.
Wow.
It's the Connecticut Leather Company.
Guys,
I told you. I said there's two Colorado, so it's the other one actually.
Although the company started out distributing leather products to shoemakers,
no
Coleco got
sense.
into the business of selling leather craft kits, plastic wading pools, and electronic games. Wow.
Wow.
I'm
Talk
learning.
I'm
slowly learning history's dumb. That's what I'm
Yeah.
learning from
History's the
Yeah.
dumbest. It's so dumb. All right. Number 7. Incensed by the violence in such games as Mortal Kombat and Night Trap. Night Trap? Okay, 2 senators launched a Senate investigation into video game violence in 1983. One of these senators was Herbert Cole of Wisconsin. The other was it Al Gore, Joseph Lieberman, or Bill Bradley?
The other one was who gives a shit.
Oh, I should know. I think it might be
Bill
Lieberman.
Bradley.
I feel like I should know this because I kind of follow all this like weird.
I mean,
drama.
Tipper Gore was the one that was taking up agenda against rap music at the time.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah.
But I also know Lieberman had some really
Lieberman wasn't he like an independent?
He had some real bitch ass opinions on games.
Yeah, I think it because Joseph Lieberman has a history of this. I just don't know if it's all the way back in '93 though.
Yeah.
And he's from Connecticut, so he hated the leather company that was out there. He hated it.
So out of spite,
ColecoVision.
His face always looked like.
This is a complete guess for me. So what do you guys? I'm up for whatever. Lieberman.
Lieberman, yeah.
I feel, but if it's not,
Dan?
it might be.
I don't feel like a New Jersey would be
for some reason, but
Bill Bradley.
New Jersey. I mean, the New York area is pretty. They're pretty tight on like a
it's
lot
just
of
the
stuff.
name is sticking out to me. But like, I literally have no clue. If you
Bill Bradley, man. I don't know.
That would be
All
funny if it is Bill. That's the only person I can't picture in my head is Bill Bradley.
All right, I'm going with Lieberman, so that makes it
All right,
3 for
let's do
Lieberman.
it.
Let's give it a whirl. Let's see if we got it. And we did. It's Lieberman.
Wow.
We got it.
Yes!
We got it.
Told
and
y'all,
that's why
he had some.
ColecoVision is a thing.
And
had
so in
some bitch-ass
'94, the
opinions.
ESRB was established to rate video games for violent content.
Gotcha.
Yep. ESRB.
This is video game history.
That's
This
video game
is-
history right
yeah,
there.
Right.
Yep.
I like
Which
this.
actually, I mean, not to be a wet blanket, but as a parent, it is nice to see the ESRB. I can say, sorry guys, this is rated whatever. So that is
I'm
nice.
glad that exists, and not that I'm all about
Well,
like controlling who plays what,
No,
but like
just give
it's
us a heads
nice.
up of what's
yeah,
in here.
just it's
That's all.
nice to
That's really what
get
it's
a heads
for.
Well,
up.
it's like
And-
self-regulated,
And
right?
you know
Yes.
what? I have
Yep.
to go on a little bit of a mini rant about ratings because there are people that I've seen on Twitter that obviously you see the dumbest stuff on Twitter anyway, but
sure.
so this won't be surprising to anybody. But on Twitter, I'll see people that have seen a movie and they're like, "Oh, there's a really troubling scene in this movie. I wish they told me." And I'm like, "Hey, it's in the rating, you fucking moron!" Like it's literally
Yeah.
in the and it'll say like it'll even
Yeah.
say somebody smoking a cigarette in the rating. Like it'll
Sure.
tell you what's happening in the movie that's trouble. Like that's
Sure.
And
It's
if
the
you
same
actually
thing with
go
video
if you go
games.
read the full like rating description,
Yeah.
not outside of that little box,
Yeah,
read the full description. It'll tell you.
it'll tell you
Exactly.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
you will know
so this
everything
whole
that's coming.
we need a trigger warning. I'm like, no, you don't. The rating explains all of it. That's the
I
reason
mean,
right,
as
it's
a
all right
as a
there.
kid, when I learned, you could look at that to find out what movies to get from the library, so you could go
Ah, buddy.
watch stuff you're not supposed to.
I didn't do that, Tim.
Am I right?
Kyle didn't do
Demolition Man.
I'm a
Kyle
good
did that.
church. I'm a good boy.
All right, yeah, he's a good boy, but me, I'm bad. Okay.
I'm a terrible.
To the book.
All right. So in 1998, this is question number 8. 1998, this retail chain banned the sale of more than 50 video games that it considered inappropriate by its own standards. Was it Toys R Us, Walmart, or KB? Remember
It sounds like
KB?
some
Oh,
Walmart
KB.
stuff.
It's gotta be
Um,
KB, bro.
I
Really?
worked-
Because Walmart's the M. We're not going to sell M-rated CDs in our stores. We're not going to do it. They really buckled
Walmart
down
did
on that in
that?
the 90s. Yeah, yeah.
I don't
Really?
So if
remember
you
them
went
doing
to
that. That's crazy.
you went to Walmart, you could only buy like
I
the
wonder-
clean.
Maybe they did it with games then too. They might
That's
have.
what that's my logic. But like he went straight to KB. Jeff, why KB? You felt confident.
I don't know
Because then they
of
went
that now.
they went bankrupt
Gut
after
feeling.
that.
Because then
They went
died
bankrupt
shortly
after that.
Well,
Yeah.
Because they stopped selling Grand Theft Auto. So no one shopped
I
there anymore.
remember, and there's too
No,
many
they-
stories out there of people going to Toys R Us and getting their game. So I just don't think it's that one ever.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh.
I think a lot of people use Toys R Us.
I actually worked at that was my second job, KB Toys. I worked there for 3 years, I think.
Dan, did
Did
you
you
guys
work there
sell
in,
bad games?
Did you
Yeah,
work there in
Joe, so-
98? Yeah.
No. So it was 2004, I think, 2004 to like 2007, and they didn't sell video games at first when I started there, and then eventually at one point they started like it was around like when the DS I think was becoming popular.
So maybe it's Walmart.
So yeah, maybe it is Walmart then. If they didn't sell video games when you
That's the
first
clue
started
we
there,
needed.
Yeah.
Let's go Walmart, guys. I like Kyle and Dan's story from history. Let's try this out. See if this is it. We're going with Walmart.
We are gonna sell live automatic round.
It is Walmart.
We will not sell
Oh, yeah,
R-rated
they have a history of
games.
this. Yeah,
It is Walmart. There we go. All right, number 9. Which of the following is the first home video game system sold in the U.S.? Was it the Atari 2600, Fairchild Camera and Instruments Video Entertainment System, also known as Channel F? What the heck? And
Okay.
Magnavox Odyssey.
Uh,
I know it was an Atari 2600. I
that's
had
the
one.
bait. Yeah,
That wasn't the
Atari's
first
the
one.
bait. That's what everyone thinks the first one is.
It
Though.
might have
It's
been
like, well,
Magnavox.
Atari started it all.
I was thinking.
I think it might be the Magnavox, but
Oh,
the
okay.
Fairchild long name is so specific. Like I really feel like it might be that too.
I know.
Can we just
So
so
insanely
like
specific.
separately to look up what the hell that is if that's not the answer?
You can't.
The
'Cause it's probably gonna
Fairchild.
say the first system sold in the U.S. Like
Well,
you can't.
after I would love for someone
Yeah.
to look it up and just tell me what it
So
is.
you guys want to go with Fairchild? Anyone think it's Atari? Dan?
I
or-
don't.
No, that's
I don't
just the
think it's
first one
Atari.
everybody owned.
Everyone thinks that's
That's
it.
it.
It's the first one I owned.
Yeah, that's the first one we had.
Fairchild. I'm gonna go with Magnavox Odyssey just because I've heard of it.
Magnavox.
I
Magnavox
had-
Odyssey sounds very familiar because of that. So
It's-
I
Dan,
don't
what do you
just-
think?
I don't know. That middle one is just like why is that there? What is
yeah,
that?
why put the AKA? Why bother if it's wrong? You know.
You made up 2 names for a joke answer. You know, like that doesn't make
that's
any
a bold
sense.
move.
Well, okay, I'm switching. I think it's Fairchild.
You think it's Fairchild?
Y'all talk.
I'll
about
talk
less.
myself into it.
That's right.
Are we going Fairchild? Fairchild?
Just go Magnavox. I think that sounds more sane.
Magnavox. All right, it's Magnavox Odyssey. It's gotta be. It's gotta be.
It's not. It's not.
Fairchild. I think it's
It can't be.
Fairchild.
It's Magnavox.
Yes.
Odyssey. Okay,
Oh, thank God.
got it.
I was gonna
Oh,
go
man.
crazy. I was like,
All right, we're gonna get heavy with number 10. It looks like
Oh my
resulting
God.
from the shootings at Columbine High School in Littleton, Colorado. This console was released in the U.S. without a light gun. PlayStation, Dreamcast, or Nintendo 64. Which one had a light gun?
Which
Hold on,
one
so
did or
was it-
didn't?
okay. This console was
I don't even
released.
remember
It's
any of them
without
having a light gun.
N64 did not ship with a light gun.
Oh,
None of-
none of these
Or not
did.
ship, but like not ship. I'm sorry, but like I don't remember there ever being a light gun on N64.
Did the Sega
But I
Dreamcast
do
ship with
remember
a light gun elsewhere? Maybe Dreamcast shipped with a light gun for some of their arcade games, like in Japan or something. Maybe it came
Hold
with a light gun, and in the US
Well,
it didn't.
let's ask this first. Does anybody actually remember what year Columbine happened?
There's like 98, 99.
99. Yeah, it was 99.
So
Probably
Probably
Sony
Dreamcast.
PlayStation was before that. Dreamcast, I think, was 99 or 2000.
I'm gonna go with Dreamcast on that because I think
So
they
was-
I think they had so many arcade games like the light gun style games, and I think
Yeah.
maybe in Japan and elsewhere they had a light gun, but in US they chose not to.
Because
That
I
makes
think the PlayStation 1 and 64 came out before Columbine. So if you're looking at it that way,
But
It
but
would be
the
the thing.
N64 1000% didn't release with a light gun though.
It didn't
right.
anywhere.
So,
Yeah.
so
Anywhere,
that's basically
yeah.
like the logic from the KB
All right.
store, where like
going-
they
we
never
got- it's gotta
sold
be-
video
it's gotta
games
be
until
Dreamcast.
later. Yeah.
It's gotta be Dreamcast. All right, we're going with Sega Dreamcast. Here we go. Let's get 8 out of 10. That'd be a solid B. Yeah, Sega Dreamcast. There we go.
Oh, good job, guys.
They made it
Certified guys.
impossible to use Dreamcast light guns that were imported from other countries with American consoles. They really didn't want.
Oh
to
my
use
God,
them.
I actually remember this now. Yeah, I remember
You do?
because like the people were always trying to hack it. Like I had a friend who was all into this modding culture or whatever at this time, and they couldn't like I remember there being a story behind not being able to crack that.
The Channel F does look really familiar.
It's in there, guys. It's real.
Oh my God.
It's a real thing, huh?
This looks
I shared
so
it in the
familiar.
chat there if you want to pull that.
Oh yeah, I've seen one of those. Looks like an
Yeah.
old VCR.
Well, there you go. All
In
right, well there you go, guys.
70s. Holy crap.
We are B students when it comes to video game history as a group.
Yes.
I think individually we would have done
Uh,
poorly, but as a
B
group, we did
B's the new A is what I heard.
pretty- it is.
so.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
It's the more inclusive score, is what it is. Guys, that was good. Well done, everybody. So I just wanted to do that before we started.
proud of
Also,
us.
I don't want all of our games to be against each other. You know, we need to work together sometimes.
I prefer co-op, not PvP.
That's inclusive.
and that's
that's-
coming from the reigning champ, just FYI.
All right.
Fair
Reigning
enough. Fair
cheating champ, probably.
Probably.
Enhancing drugs.
Probably.
I appreciate the applause.
And there's
Not
these
the- not the
sarcastic,
scowl, but-
sarcastic.
No,
in chat
it was a
from
real
Ben.
applause. It was a scowl that he was wearing.
Sarcastic.
Sarcastic.
All right. Well, there are some new games that have started to come out this week. Some unexpected ones too. It's pretty cool. Some new content to
I'm
watch
ready.
as well. And it's kind of nice that we're getting some of these games that whether they were unknown before this week or stuff like Scorn, which we'll talk about, that maybe wasn't on the top of our hype list. It's kind of nice to get those to come out first because I would not even give Scorn a second had all the games that are coming out next week also dropped at the same time. So that game coming out earlier gives it a chance for me to at least fire it up, which I did for maybe an hour. I played Scorn, something like that. So we'll talk about that and a few of these others, and then touch base with you guys on your backlog, Hall of Shame at the end as well. A few headlines. You know the drill. Let's jump right into it. Let's talk about Scorn first. So this is Xbox Game Pass game. It's not a full price game elsewhere. I saw it on Steam. I think it's $40. Does that sound right? 30 or 40?
Oh, that's extremely overpriced.
All right. How dare
Actually,
you speak that way about somber tapestries?
It is. Let's say it's 40 on Steam. Did all of you guys try this one for at least a little bit?
Yeah.
I put in the same amount of time you did, Tim. I don't know if I got as far. Same for me. Because there's puzzles in the opening that are pretty challenging, and it's easy to just walk away and be like, "F this." So
Jeff, it is.
Yeah, so Scorn
is
easy
to do that.
Scorn is $40, and right now on Steam, if you don't have Game Pass, it's on sale for like 36, so it's not that cheap. And from what I've played so far, it is not, in my opinion, worth a purchase. It's much more worth like grabbing a Game Pass subscription if you don't have one. If you really are curious about this game, spend $15. Go get Game Pass for a month, or get a free. You could probably get a free month of Game Pass from somewhere, and check it out. And if that's something that you're interested in, it is a very slowly paced, very not hand-holdy adventure puzzle with apparently some light combat elements later. And I didn't even get to any combat. I was like, I think I'm good.
What I remember, the guns are almost kind of like what's that High on Life game that's coming out, but like obviously more gross and like.
I'm gonna guess that the guns get horrifically attached to your arm somehow.
Yeah, they're like kind of like they look organic
because that's what happens with the key kind of early on. This little key tool that attaches onto your hand, because you're an idiot who wakes up naked and kind of gross for whatever reason, and you stick your hand into the nearest hole in the wall in this creepy place. Because why wouldn't you do that?
As one does, you know.
You stick your hand in there, it of course grabs you and then attaches this in a very violent way, attaches this thing to your arm.
It's very visceral, you know. Yeah.
Very visceral. I gotta say though, I don't want to just sound like I'm crapping on this game. It's got really cool visuals. The style is amazing. The style is really good.
I'm playing it on. I was playing it. It's already uninstalled. Spoilers. I played it on PC, like high quality 4K. It is freaking gorgeous.
It's a pretty game.
I think that's why the price tag is what it is, because when you load it up, it's like, oh, look at these visuals. I mean, this is current Gen AF. Like, it looks great. It doesn't look like a AA or less game.
No,
it looks like a AAA game. It's just the gameplay is where it's lacking for me as well. Like, I mean,
even just the movement is kind of like
Even when you hit run, I'm like, am I running? What's going on? Like, it's very slow. And it doesn't need to. I don't understand why it needs to be, because you're in so many wide open spaces and it's completely empty in many areas.
And it guides you like 0%. So the fact that you have to just kind of guess at different paths to go explore, and then you have to backtrack if you realize that's a dead end, or you can't do that thing yet because you need another whatever. Then you have to backtrack, and you're like, man, this is cool looking, but I'm kind of tired of walking through the same corridor over and over again trying to figure out.
There's a puzzle in the very first, I would say, half hour to 45 minutes is around the average I've been seeing in gameplay walkthroughs of people beating it. There's an opening puzzle where you have to kind of move
those pieces around on the wall.
Yeah, it's one of the most annoying puzzles. I know there's a word for that type of puzzle. But if that's the type of puzzle, it's like a preview of the puzzles you're going to get in the game. No, I'm good.
Yeah, very much so.
But it's also needlessly difficult. Like, there are this big machine can only slide things across where there's a connector, and a couple of the connectors are just, for whatever reason, broken in a perfect way that you can only solve it with this exact movement, and it just makes the puzzle way longer than it needs to be. So now you have to move everything over and then move everything over.
25-minute puzzle for me, because eventually I just walked away and I was just like, no, I'm gonna go see what else is around here. And then it turns out there's literally nothing else around there. That's what you need to progress. So I did that puzzle. I unlocked it unlocks like a pod, and like some creature, husk-like creature comes out, but he's like stuck in the pod, like bunched together. And you actually have two options. I saw one playthrough where you can change the tracks that you're like rolling him on, and you can move him over to a chair and just waste him, and then you grab his arm, and you can use his arm later.
Yeah, there's a giant saw you can use to just.
Yeah. So I didn't do that. I actually you took him to one room where they sawed off the chair, the pod that he was in, and he just got up and started following me around. So that's really interesting. But now I'm like, how the hell do I show this guy how to use, like how to do puzzles with me? Like,
you're giving him voice commands. You're like, stand.
Yeah.
Walk over there.
Insert hand.
Can we talk about mentioning insert hands, like the audio in this game? The audio,
so much squelching.
So much squelching is the best word to describe it. Everything's wet. And like
that's what she said.
Yeah, you're like okay, I found this elevator. I'm gonna go up the elevator real quick.
Everything's oozy and exactly. It's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
It's like ASMR basically.
Just lots of slurping, and it's not. I don't know, man. Yeah, it's effective at creating atmosphere for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
and those
I mean,
visuals,
there's a
man,
couple of those
really
things, those platforms there, like you walk up and you interact with it, and either you put that new key device you get in one, and you put your other hand in like a power glove, and you can like move things around. But then there's one where it's just these 2 sets of 4 finger holes, and you just stick your fingers in those holes and slide it down. That one truly grossed me out. I was like, I don't want to keep doing this, man.
Yeah.
It's like
everything's just weird and gross in this game, and that's what they were going for.
Yeah, and
I'm here for it. I'm probably gonna watch. I'm
Yeah.
probably gonna watch someone play through it.
I might do that too.
Because I too played about 45 minutes of this game, and I was like, no, hard no. Very much so a no. But I'm really interested to see like what, because I know this game gets nuttier. Like it has to, right? Like,
It has to.
Like at some point it's just going to be so weird. I want to see that stuff, but like I don't have any interest in like solving obtuse weird puzzles. I couldn't figure out the dial thing that you were talking about. Like for the longest, like I was just moving. I was just like, what does it want from me? And I just kind of luckily got it. And I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, just a lot of things about the game are just like are anti Kyle. Like, I'm not very good at like these types of
a lot of trial and error
weird
puzzles.
non-hand-holdy puzzle games.
But then you have to go, like you talked about the tracks. You have to go. There's a long way to walk, and then walk up this winding pathway to the top. Interact with it, watch that whole sequence, then finally control the thing where you can change the tracks, and hopefully you've looked at the right angle. You know which tracks.
The tracks takes another 5 minutes.
So like it's just a very slow, purposeful. Like if you're really into this, I bet you love it. But if you're like us, and we're all kind of, as you'll hear, we're just trying all kinds of different games. This is not a great one to just like, oh, let me jump in and see if it hooks me. It probably won't unless you just really take your time.
Imagine me going from Monkey Island to this. It's just
right.
Same thing.
Completely identical games. Absolutely.
How long to beat has it at about averaged 4 hours, but when I'm on YouTube looking at full playthroughs, like I'm seeing him in the like closer to 2 hours, like kind of averaging anywhere between 2 to 4. So
definitely gonna stream watch.
Oh, so there are geniuses playing the game. That's great. Good for them.
Or it could be people that have trimmed it down.
Maybe.
Sure. Or trimmed the fat.
I'll totally watch that, and that's immediately why I said, man, that's too high of a price if it's 40, because I heard that that's
high price.
2 to 4 hours. I'm like, that's ridiculous. $40 for a 4-hour game. That's insane. But visually, I get it. They probably spent most of their budget on visuals.
Yeah. I've been working on it for 10 years too. So it's a lot of money.
I was gonna say this was kickstarted. The Easy Allies actually they were like one of their sponsors. That's why Kyle and I say Somber Tapestries sometimes.
It's all part of their marketing.
Yeah, it was part of their marketing, and for like when Easy Allies started, they were like one of their contributors or whatever. So they've been working on a while.
The menu was pretty cool. It's zoomed in on this really creepy face and hand that looks kind of like vined in, and it'll twitch if you just sit there on the menu for a minute. Like the hand will twitch or whatever, and then as you hit new game, it stays on that screen. The words just fade away, and then it just kind of, that figure is still laying on the floor during the opening cutscene. So anyway, I think stylistically, visually impressive. Audio wise, it's high quality, even if I don't like the sounds personally. Like it's not like it's bad. And I don't think it's poorly. I personally don't think it's poorly made. It's just definitely made as a purposeful puzzle adventure sci-fi horror game.
It's more like I would call it people called Blade Runner 2049 this, where they called it concept art the movie. This is like concept art the game.
Yeah.
I feel
we mean it
way
meanly
more
like they meant it
in Blade Runner 2049. They're saying that as a dig, which is complete BS in my opinion and unfounded. Like because that just means you didn't watch it. But with Scorn, I feel like that's their goal is like look at this artwork, and the best way you can look at that artwork is through puzzles, like and not through fast-paced first-person shooter stuff.
And if you're someone who like you love a good puzzle, I don't think this is necessarily that either. Like if you played like The Witness and that was your game of the year, and some people just love that kind of stuff. More power to you. Yeah. But that was like that was truly built around this core idea of this puzzle. That's how it was created, and they built the game around that. This doesn't feel that way. It's not around a core puzzle idea. It's more like environmental. How do I progress? How do I open this door? Yeah. So it's I wouldn't get your hopes up if you love a puzzle game.
Was like it would give you like a wall worth of like here's 30 stupid maze puzzles, do them, and then you can go to the next one.
But to its credit, I know this isn't a Witness podcast here, but like Witness, each puzzle would teach you a new way to like approach a puzzle or teach you a new. They did a good job of like teaching you a new way to approach the same types of puzzles over and over again.
And again, for people that like those games, of course, but like me watching it, I just cheated my whole way through it because I was like, this is stupid. I'm dumb for this. Like I can't do this. But there were some where you had to move your thumbsticks in opposite directions sometimes, like really clever, like
very
ways
clever
to do basic puzzles.
This so far, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe when I watch a playthrough, I'll correct myself on this, but this doesn't seem to be like super clever puzzles. It's more like visually impressive environments with some environmental puzzles you got to figure out along the way. So, but hey, if you
like Hellblade,
just like Hellblade.
I really wish they went with the
puzzles and great graphics. You know,
those effing puzzles in Hellblade. But I really wish they just went with a strict narrative experience for this game, just to show off the visuals. You don't have to give me choice in dialogue or whatever, just like a narrative.
Even if it was just like a walking simulator where you just walk through the environment,
Yeah.
But now we're just begging for an easy mode, which is
where's the easy mode? Hey.
No, I'm not getting on that side of the fence, so
I've got too much pride for that. Well, speaking of adventure games, there's another one that just came out, and it's only because of you guys that I even heard of this game. It was called Unusual Findings. I had never heard of this, but even the title is like a homage to Stranger Things.
Yeah.
So it's clearly meant.
They might as well have called it like Odd Items.
Odd Items, right? And cool I think Unusual Findings is kind of exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying it's everything from the characters and like the time period it's set, and that whole opening sequence of trying to get out of your room. Like it's all very much like it's like Stranger Things the game. Which, by the way, I did play Stranger Things the game, and that's actually like a little action RPG.
Yeah, I thought that was more action oriented.
Yeah. So this is not that. This is a point and click adventure game. So the one I compare it to the most, it could be like Monkey Island a little bit too. Jeff was saying it's similar to that. It reminded me instantly of Maniac Mansion, which of course those are kind of in the same exact boat. They're all made by Lucasfilm games from back in the day, but
and by the same guy,
Ron Gilbert, right?
Yeah, Ron Gilbert, one
of the main creators. So, but what do you guys think of Unusual Findings? Did you play it at all? Is that your thing? Like, I'm not in the mood to really get into a puzzle adventure point and click game, but it looked kind of cool. Like I liked that pixel art and stuff.
It's not very well. The demo's out there, by the way. If anybody wants to try it on Steam, the demo is. It took me 20 minutes, but I think you can get through it faster if you're not as dumb. So I'm just gonna trash my intelligence this whole episode. But
we're talking about puzzles. Me too.
Yeah, Jeff, you just got a degree in video game history. Okay, don't sell yourself.
Right. It's in the mail.
I can't tell you guys what a Fletch thing Channel F is, whatever the hell that was.
We may not know we may not know our leathers, all right, but
we don't. We don't.
Our Connecticut leathers.
So it's just not, and like I come from coming just off of Monkey Island, still fresh on that playthrough and those mechanics. It's not nearly as involved, might not be the right word, but I guess creative with its puzzle solving as Monkey Island is, where like you have these items in your inventory and sometimes you have to combine them and stuff like that. This game's a little more basic with that, but I think it's because it's if you look at Steam, it's probably like a $20 game. I think it's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
And it is like that old pixelated art style and sound effects. So there's definitely like a lower tier like feel to it, or lower budget feel to it. It's just not. I don't know. The writing's okay. There's written dialogue, fully voiced. Like everything's fully voiced. So it is like those old Lucas.
I
Lucas
kind of didn't
games.
like the voice acting, to be honest.
Yeah, no, the voice acting was okay. The writing was okay. Everything just kind of felt okay, and that's not enough to hook me when you have so many things around the corner. You know, just not enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's got your classic thing where it's like, hey, I need to get into this room. Where did I hide my key? I can't remember. And then you have to like just poke around every area, and then you finally go to the area you kind of didn't think to look, and you're like, oh, there it is. So it's supposed to kind of give you that puzzle solving, environmental, what do I do next, gratification, and that's going to work for some folks, and it might not for others. But
I don't get that aha serotonin from that stuff.
Yeah,
so
right.
It never feels.
Like
it never
with
feels
Monkey
good to me.
Island, I was like, oh,
yeah,
like
that's
was
never
always cool. Like,
and that's awesome. That's what you're seeking, you know. But
I
like,
do
usually
like
I just
those
go, you dumb
games.
idiot. Why didn't you look there first?
I do like those. Like, I still have very fond memories of my older brother and I sitting at a really cheap old homemade. My dad and his friend built a computer. My dad's friend built it. My dad doesn't know how to do this, but anyway, he built us this computer that was supposed to be meant for work, but he put in a graphics card for us where we could run some Sierra games and stuff. So we were running like Space Quest and King's Quest, and I remember playing those games when you figure out what command to type in, like pull power lever, and then the spaceship powers up, and we're both like, oh, that's what we had to type, like trying to type the right command, because it'll just say, because you keep saying like look at console, and it's like you see a bunch of flashing numbers and buttons or whatever, and you have to figure out what to type in. That was such a good feel. Like, I like that
seems more fun, for sure.
So I do like that feeling, and I do like when you figure out what items to combine. There was a game from several years ago called Machinarium. I don't know how to say that. Machinarium. You were a little bot, and it was like a point and click adventure game. Really cool little art style. Same thing though that Jeff's describing. You got to combine items in your inventory to try to get to the next thing. So it's gonna work for some folks, might not work for others, but there you go. Unusual Findings, the knockoff of Stranger Things, basically. What it is. Dan, anything?
Great soundtrack, by the way. They were able to get licensing for actual recognizable 80s songs. So
okay, nice.
Good for them.
Dan, anything new that you're playing before we talk about a few other ones? I wasn't sure if you were playing new stuff.
No, I added. So I'm close to finishing Valkyrie Elysium. So
okay.
we can obviously discuss that.
Okay. Okay, cool. Cool. I do want to hear about that one.
Yeah.
Okay. One that I didn't expect to try until there's a YouTube channel I really like called Switch Up. Of course, they only cover Nintendo Switch, but they do some really cool reviews sometimes, and I like those guys. Even though the Steam Deck has kind of pulled me away from the Switch, to be honest with you, outside of a few exceptions. But anyway, they did a review for a game called Trifox, and as soon as I saw like the opening or like the little thumbnail for Trifox, I just rolled my eyes. Like, who needs another one of these little animal themed whatever adventure games? Don't need it. But I watched.
I got something about that for later too.
I watched them review it a little bit, and I was like, this actually looks kind of cool. There's a demo on Steam. I'm gonna try it. There's not a demo on Switch, so I'll try it out. It's like a $17 game. I have not purchased it. I only played the demo. But I gotta tell you, it is a cool little kind of isometric action adventure game. Think visual style of like Tunic, where especially on Steam, I don't know about on Switch, but on Steam, at least on a PC, it looks really good. Like the art style is very like, whoa, I like this. It kind of has a like a storybook or toy type of a visual style once you load it up and you're moving around. So I like the style a lot. And you pick one of 3 classes. Get it, Trifox, because there's 3 different versions of the fox you can use. So you can be, and I think you can switch. Real, Tim. I think you can switch as you go. So you can be either like this warrior guy who has a hammer who spins around. He has like a couple slam moves and that kind of thing. Very melee. You can be an engineer, which is the one I tried, and I really liked that, where you're throwing down little turrets or you're dropping proximity mines or putting up walls, and you can try to like box in enemies and then throw mines in there and blow them all up. So you can be, and you have a little gun that comes out of your backpack, and you have a little propeller so you can kind of hover when you jump. Or you can be a mage where you're just throwing magic around like a crazy person, like just all this magic moves going everywhere. So I was pretty surprised that all 3 were really fun, like cool little classes you pick from. I don't know if there's any real upgrade systems necessarily, or if it's just pick your class and that's what you're. I don't know enough about it. I just played the demo, got through the first big boss, like this crab or whatever. I thought it was really fun, like this silly little game that I had no idea about, and this is one of those ones that I'll probably just kind of put on a list, like, hey, check this game out again someday. It might come to Game Pass, or maybe it'll be like $5 on some Steam winter sale. I would totally buy this and give it a whirl. Not that 17 isn't a good price or 18 isn't a good price. It is. It's just I don't have time for a game like that right now. But I just wanted to throw it out there as a nice little surprise. Like, hey, this game's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's hardly talked about. Like, I think I've only seen like 2 reviews on it. Both give it like 8 out of 10 type scores. So yeah, there you go.
I played the demo because you brought it up, and I beat it too, and I beat that final boss, pain in my ass. And you have the ability, you're kind of dropped in, at least in the demo, you're dropped in a practice or a sparring space, so you can change your class and decide which one you want to do for that level. And obviously, with the demo, you can just replay the entire demo through was one class, whatever. But I chose the melee one that just felt more fun and gratifying to me. The one with the big hammer. Something with the engineer one, I just didn't register for me. It's not a traditional melee game that I always like, where it's I kind of prefer the hack and slash type of free attack methods, and this one's not really that. You kind of have a blue bar for your attacks, and you can run out. It's not really stamina, but it's you can run out, and you gain more by attacking more enemies, and they'll drop, I guess, more blue fluid, whatever the hell that is. And
blue goo.
But it's just not as fast. It's not what I expected. I thought it would be more, I don't know, reactionary type of melee, and not so much, I got to kind of calculate my moves here because this one expends more magic, whatever the hell, mana, whatever, than this does, or whatever. I didn't expect it to be like that at all. So I did have fun with it. It was just not my typical melee type.
I totally get that. Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how the melee feels, because all I did was engineer. So every time I got into a battle, and they would send all these crabs at you, like
dude, so many,
hundreds of crabs just rushing you. And so I always have my gun out that comes over my shoulder and just start shooting. But then I learned how to use these walls. It's they don't teach you how to do this. You just kind of experiment with the different weapons. And so I would just set up the walls to kind of close them into a space that I wanted them to go. And I would just start throwing proximity mines over while shooting, and it would just blow up all these crabs. That's how I beat the boss too. I kept dropping turrets like right in front of his face, and then setting up walls and hiding where he couldn't hit me with his big like water shooter thing. Yeah. So that was that was very satisfying to me. Like, oh, I know how to use this class to kind of succeed, and it made me want to try. And it looked like in the trailer there was some mixing and matching going on too. Like I saw a mage that had the propeller. So I don't know if there's some mixing, and at least I thought I saw that. So it looked like maybe there's some mixing and matching of skills as you progress. I don't know.
That'd be cool.
But creative little
fun.
creative
creative for sure. I was kind of like, I mean, the whole time I was going, okay, it's not my type of melee game, but this is actually very creative. So I have to give it props for that, at least.
Yeah. And I do think the visual style is kind of cool. Again, it's if you were to like ask me what kind of game, what kind of visual style would you like someone to make, this isn't like top of my list. Like, hey, make it cartoony and like fold out book style, like Tunic. But when you make it well, I'm like, all right, that looks good. I think that's cool. I like it. Anyway. All right, so there's a couple of unexpected ones, unusual findings, and Trifox. And then there's one, I was kind of waiting for this one for last, at least as far as new games go, just in case Derek came. I know he's playing a lot of this one.
Yeah, he's so far in this game.
He's really digging this game. It's called Asterigos, Curse of the Stars. And this one, as soon as I saw the thumbnail for it, I was like, oh, it's like an Immortals ripoff. That's the first thing I thought, because you got redheaded female lead character who's wearing what looks like Greek mythology style armor with a sword, and I'm like, yeah, so it's just a ripoff of Immortals. And I've played it for a little while, not too long, an hour and a half maybe. And in a way, yes, there's elements that remind me of Immortals, but not a ton. It reminds me of other games a lot more. I think Derek used the comparison, or was it you, Jeff? Someone compared it to Kena, Bridge of Spirits, and I think that's a much more accurate comparison, but it's not even a ton like that either. It's kind of its own unique little thing.
Yeah.
It is pretty slow. So you talked about slow combat with that Trifox game. I think the combat in Asterigos is pretty slow. And at the beginning, they give you a sword and shield with a hammer, and it's actually kind of almost off-putting with how slow and methodical the combat is at first. And so that to me is a detriment to what is otherwise a pretty good unexpected game, kind of out of nowhere for me. But once you get to a certain point, once you get all your weapons back, really it's from the first boss, I think. So you get all your weapons back, and maybe it's before the first boss. Anyway, and
it's like your first batch of enemies that you encounter.
Yeah, and then so you can choose then between a different all kind of combinations. They don't really tell you what to do. They just say, here's your weapons. choose which one you want for weapon 1 and weapon 2, and you can do all kinds of mixing and matching between those two. So like, you don't have to do sword and shield, although if you like that, you can. And you don't have to do hammer, although you can if you like that. You can also use a spear. You can use a magic staff. And you have these little daggers. And once I started using the twin daggers, then I realized, oh, this game's actually pretty fast.
So I gotta play around then.
Yeah.
Right.
So the daggers move real fast, and their special move, instead of being like block, is actually another dash move that makes you invulnerable during the dash. So you have your normal dash and you have this special move with the daggers. So next thing you know, you're kind of darting around the field if you use daggers a lot. Or my other weapon I picked was the magic staff, and so I'm just sitting back there just like hitting enemies from a distance. When they get close, I start like hitting them with the daggers real fast and dash away, and then start magic attacking again.
Man, I gotta change up my weapons then. I think the problem is me, guys. I think that's the issue.
So as soon as I did that, I was like, dude, this is pretty fun actually. Like I kind of dig what they have going here with the combat. So that's
the animations. I remember when I was seeing like trailers of it, and then I had tried the demo. Like they're actually like really smooth. Like there's a lot of good like animation work done there in the game. Like it looks pretty, and it looks like her movements are really like interesting to look at. Like it's not just like a kind of choppy, indie game that doesn't have a big budget but it's trying to look pretty. Like they definitely put in the work there. So
I think so. Yeah.
I think it was pretty good. For some reason, I'm having some choppiness on the game. It's not like overwhelming and unplayable. I just
like frames wise or
a little stuttering. I noticed.
Oh, okay.
I don't really get frame drops because as soon as I put on VSync, it's fine. Like everything's fine. It's just as I'm walking, sometimes I notice like a stutter in the game, like in the actual. It's really
gotcha.
Weird. And I think my main gripe in our chat was because I got the full game after Derek kept saying, no, it's better than the demo.
It was only 18 on CD keys, by the way.
Good.
So
cheap. Yes, exactly.
Oh, is it still? Because
I think so.
I was not going to buy it. The demo left me very whelmed. And then Derek was like, no, trust me, it's actually better. And when you get to the actual end where the demo ends, there's something that happens in the story that like moves it forward and it's actually interesting. And I was like, oh, it's actually kind of interesting. Like the world that they're kind of explaining, the plot is very similar to Dreamlight Valley, believe it or not, like where there's like a curse on the land and you're like,
oh, okay.
Get out of here.
Because you got to make friends with Scrooge McDuck and like go find some seeds.
And you go to Goofy and you're like,
and you have to give him all of your money because Scrooge is a goddamn
guy.
What an a-hole. But there's that similar type of curse going on where there was a curse to this land that you just entered, and nobody really fully understands how the magic works yet in their town. So I got to the part where you get to the base that's kind of set closer to the sewers of the town because that's the only place that anybody can be safe, and that's where I stopped playing. I think you can actually do some upgrades or something over there.
You can. Yep.
Yeah.
I was gonna say their upgrade system's pretty good too. Like
it is.
You pick the skills, and by the way, after you kind of meet some of the main characters who truly set the context for what's happening and what you have to do next. So there's like a second boss fight that I don't know if you can win it or not, but I know I died, and then
I died. There's a move that you can't dodge at some point that just hits you and it drains you of every.
That's kind of what happened. I thought I was doing pretty well. I was like, I'm doing all right, and all of a sudden it was like boom, 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 and then you were dead. So anyway, from there you can kind of pick a little more of a path. Like I want to go towards these types of skills or those types, which I like that. I like a good action RPG with some nice upgrade paths that you can pick what you want to follow, and then they have these traits that you can unlock. So where basically you can build more of this quicker, but you'll lose that faster. Like, take more damage, but you gain more magic point, or whatever the thing is, right? It's those kinds of traits that you can select as you go through too. So there's a good amount of kind of picking and choosing how you want to play, which is impressive. It's one of those things that's like, you didn't have to do this for such a small game, but nice.
Yeah, it's clearly a game that's on, not that it looks cheap, but it's clearly on a budget. Like it's, you can tell it's not a AAA game, but it still looks good.
To compare it to Kena again, I think Kena is a better looking game. I think the characters and environments in Kena are prettier, but this isn't so far behind that it's embarrassing.
No.
It's like close to that. It's close-ish.
It's quite
to
close.
Kena.
Yeah, it's knocking on the door.
Yeah, I think so. It doesn't have the cuteness of a Kana. It is pretty
No, you're
serious.
right.
Like
There's
some
no
of the
little.
some of the
there's no
dialogue's a
little
little self-serious.
companions.
Like
Yeah.
if you played Immortals, it's very tongue-in-cheek, almost too much so. Some people hated the silly comedy, and I get it, of something like Immortals, where like Zeus and all the other gods are kind of always joking and making these little kind of like wink wink nudge nudge jokes. All right, I can see how that gets annoying after a while. But that was part of the story. That's part of the vibe. This one's a lot much more serious approach to the story, and you're looking for your father who left on some mission without you. And she keeps calling him Papa, which is weird because she looks like she's at least like 20 or maybe at least 17. Like
Well,
she's not.
I don't know, because I
little
talked to
kid.
the guard that knocks you out. That first.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe you're like 13.
And
I
he
don't know. You
goes,
look-
"Man, for a little girl," and I'm like, "How old is she? 15? What's?"
Yeah, she looks older, but whatever.
Yeah, I know she does, but
She's like Papa, and I'm like, well, I think you're in college, so take it easy.
let's go with the Papa.
Yeah,
Papa.
Papa.
I am willing to continue it while I'm
Same.
waiting for Plague Tale. I do think there's some potential.
There's
there
something
if
here,
I
and
keep going.
Listen, there's enough that I tried it on my computer, and actually this afternoon I went ahead and installed it on Steam Deck because I've heard it plays fine on Steam Deck, and so I'm going to try it on there as well. So it's enough that it was worth, installing there because I'm going to keep playing it a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good one. Anything else you guys are playing before we talk about the best movie of the fall that just came out? All right, we'll get back to other things that we're catching.
Do you mean things in general or new things?
Just new stuff, and we'll come back to other stuff we're playing a little bit later. Let's talk about Halloween Ends.
Oh,
finally,
boy!
Finally,
Let's
Tell us about
this
Mike.
On a train to End Town. That's Negative Town.
Jeff-
people
So
love
Jeff-
this movie. People love
Is
this.
this actually the end,
You're a
Jeff?
liar.
Is this really the end?
Yes.
Is it?
It's definitely.
There
the
is
end.
no
Are you
moment
sure?
at the end that's like, but maybe.
Yeah, but yeah, no, there's nothing like that at the end.
Yeah, there's nothing like that happening.
Does he give a thumbs up as he sinks into lava at the end?
You're scary on the nose, to be honest.
Jeff, is it over, Jeff? Is it?
It really
He's
is.
over.
he's
Yeah.
doomed
Is
in.
it, Jeff?
Some asshole 3 years from now will reboot it, but yeah,
Oh,
this
for
story
sure.
is over.
Some
And
ass.
I think we've determined that as long as you pay Jamie Lee Curtis well, she will not turn down a
She'll
role.
do anything,
So,
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
She
Nerd,
will
right?
beat you with dildos or whatever they did in that one movie. So,
Yeah. They definitely did that. Although she didn't, but she was
She
part of the
didn't.
movie. Yeah.
but yeah, she was really funny in that movie. The hot dog fingers.
She did a lot of
Uh,
wrestling
yeah.
moves in an office.
She did. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's a really good suplexer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that they put actual wrestling. Like I saw a rock bottom, a German
Yep.
suplex. I saw all
There's
these
a lot of
wrestling
wrestling
moves. I
moves.
was like, oh, this is entertaining.
See, this is
Uh,
more fun talking about a movie that's actually really good. as
Yeah,
opposed
can we
to
talk about
Halloween
everything
Ends.
everywhere all at once instead?
So Halloween, this trilogy has just been such a weird ride. I really like the first one. I think Kyle and I both really like the first one.
Yeah, I like the first one a lot.
18.
Yeah.
I think it was the very end, and I was like, all right.
There's a twist in that movie. I'm like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
But whatever, you know.
Yeah.
I
whatever.
remember that now that you mentioned it. And then
Yeah.
Halloween Kills, I liked less than Kyle did, but I did like the fact that they were entertaining, like kills that you.
He
expect.
kills like 70 people in that movie.
Yeah,
It's
insane.
great. Like it's a
Nice.
insane.
To be
Like
fair,
it's
it
so
says
far
kills.
fetched.
So
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
true. Yeah,
it lives
he
up
definitely
to
lives
its
up to the
for
name.
sure. And that one did have people doing far more stupid stuff than from the 2018 movie. This one, I would say this one has people doing equally stupid stuff than like from the Kills movie.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's just the plot is like, how is this your choice to wrap up the trilogy?
You have
It's
to
so
buy
weird.
in a lot to people's stupidity to like be along for the ride for this movie.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And like, it was so much of an ask for me, who I was coming in to be apologetic, especially after Jeff, like he was scathing about it. I was like, I'm gonna prove this asshole wrong, and I'm gonna watch it. It's probably gonna be fine at best. And it was the tail between the legs moment where I was like, Jeff, you're right. The movie was just. Like,
I'm so sorry, Jeff. I'm so sorry.
So sorry. I
but
still think I still think you like is a strong term, but liked
Yeah,
it more than me.
I
but-
Hated it- he
appreciate that
hated
there's
it
an
less than me.
ending. You
Yeah.
know, that's what I
There are
appreciate
actors
about
in
the
it.
movie.
They act.
Yeah,
this-
the credits
it's-
roll, and there's a sense of finality. You know.
Yeah.
How's
but, like,
Jamie Lee Curtis in this movie? Is she good?
She's
She's
fine.
present. Yeah.
Yeah,
She's there.
They
Okay.
do something really weird that I would not have done with their characters. So I don't.
Oh. Okay.
And then out of nowhere, it becomes what you see in the trailers, like near the.
Hold on.
And it was and kind of a joke. Yeah.
Basically,
Like,
most
you
of
thought
the
I was
stuff
gonna.
that you
Yeah.
might. Basically, most of the stuff that you might see in the trailer is from the last 20 minutes of the movie. That's
Yeah.
how bizarre the pacing is of this movie. Like,
Tim,
It's a 2-hour movie.
I'm actually super curious about what Jeff is referring to. Tim, do you actually care? Are you ever going to see this movie? Because I kind of want.
I'm never gonna watch this movie.
I'm not going to either. So we
Okay,
can
so-
just
all of our loyal viewers who love Halloween out there.
Spoiler alert! If you're watching or listening,
I
if you
wanna
don't want to
know.
know what happens, skip ahead like a
well,
couple minutes.
so it was. I was an hour and 15 minutes in the movie, and I texted Kyle in our separate chat where we talk crap about you guys. I texted
the best
him.
chat, the best one.
I texted him. I'm just extremely baffled, and the reason I texted that is because Michael Myers was barely in the movie by that point, and there have barely been any kills yet. Like,
hour and 15 minutes in.
yeah, an hour and 15 minutes in, I'm waiting for. I'm like thirsty for blood. It's really weird. But like
we're
the
spending
opening
a
of the
lot of
movie-
time with people that I'm like, I don't care about any of this.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a new character they introduce, and he goes down a dark path where he encounters Michael Myers. But Michael Myers, he escapes his grasp, but because he looked into Michael Myers' eyes, he suddenly has the taste, the hunger for killing. It's stupid.
You think we might be leaving out context, but that's all on the table.
That's
That's
it.
everything.
That's all they do.
That's
It's
all
like-
on the table there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy walks down an alleyway or whatever and looks into his eyes and he's like, I want to kill people.
Yeah,
Kinda. Different
more or
setting,
less.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
More or less. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Wait, is this the passing of the torch? Is this guy gonna?
No, it's not that type of movie. Even though that's what we just described, kind of.
Yeah. So like what we described to me sounds like what you would make out of a first movie of a new trilogy, not the third one. It makes no sense.
You're trying to wrap up a bunch of like hanging threads and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And,
This is not like Thunder Gun 4 Maximum Cool. Do you guys not get that reference?
What is that from?
I feel like I know
Okay,
that, but
Never mind. I was just watching it earlier. Never mind. It's from Sunny in Philadelphia. Never mind.
I thought so. Okay, yeah.
Oh,
when they're sitting there and getting like Dolph Lundgren's.
And he totally passes the torch.
I was like, I know that
now I
name,
remember
but
that reference.
you'd have to give me more.
In my head, I'm
context,
thinking of like Kick Punch Man, Punch Kick Man, whatever from Community.
Kick Puncher.
Yeah, Kick Puncher. That's it.
I was trying to make the reference there.
And then Punch Kicker.
The opening of the movie is one of the. I at least recommend watching that because it is unintentional. I don't know if it's intentional or not. Actually, it is hilarious
laughed.
though.
Yeah,
I laughed
out loud.
so hard. It follows a new character that we go on this journey with. We don't know at the beginning of the movie that we're going to follow this dumbass through the rest of the movie.
Yeah, I thought it was like a soft open thing.
Yes, but it's a soft open to this
movie.
kid babysits like a 9-year-old or an 8-year-old or whatever, and the kid is kind of a little shit. And he ends up kind of terrorizing the babysitter. This new guy.
Also, like Home Alone.
And he's kind of terrorizing him, like trying to pretend that he's Michael Myers or something, and like closing doors and making noises. And he locks a door or whatever, and the babysitter's like, "Oh, this isn't funny, man." So he kicks the door, and the kid is right there. It knocks the kid back over the railing of the stairs.
Of like a 3-story house.
Yeah, it's like a 3 or 4-story house. So you see his parents come in like right as he's falling, and they're like, "Oh, what a nice date we had." And then you just see the kid's body
like bounce, like plop and bounce. And like I think you're supposed to feel something because it's a child, but
so hard.
Oh, hey, you know what? Another funny Sunny in Philadelphia reference when Mac and Charlie beat the shit out of those kids.
Yeah.
Dude, oh my god. The best.
Oh man. But so that part was like amazing. Maybe not intentional, maybe it was, because I know that sometimes their kills, they try to make them comedically brutal. And there are a couple kills like that in this movie, but it's just the fact that it's so scarce. And then Michael Myers himself feels like such an afterthought in this movie.
Yeah.
And the final showdown between him and Laurie just felt like they had to do it. So like, let's put it in the movie.
Yeah.
The stakes just felt so hollow.
It was a whimper of an ending for sure.
Yeah.
Like it's so much so like they should have just ended it at the last movie and just never made this movie. Like he died in the last movie. Like that would have been a more satisfying ending.
Right.
Than like doing whatever if we just watched.
Yeah,
here.
because the
again,
end of the last
I
movie,
was gonna force myself to love this movie just
because
like,
you
prove
wanted Jeff to be wrong.
Just wanted Jeff to be wrong about something.
This seems really
and like it just was. very bad. I don't really know what to say.
Yeah, it's just you get the sense of the feeling of how is this the movie that you chose to write? When you're like an hour and a half into it, you're like, why this? Why this?
Yeah.
It was very confusing.
It's very disappointing.
And yet somehow it has 40% positive on Rotten Tomatoes. That's a lot for what you're describing.
Some people didn't mind the swing, and in fact even liked it, because it is kind of a big swing for.
It's a big swing, and on paper it's not a bad idea. It's just the execution is.
Yeah. I'm just glancing through some of these. The positive ones, people like that it's doing something different than what it's supposed to be. Like,
so unexpected. I can definitely paint you guys a little bit of a picture, because the way the last movie Kills ended, which is from 2 years ago, Michael Myers killed Laurie Strode, that's Jamie Lee Curtis's character, killed her daughter, who was Judy Greer.
Oh.
And the movie just ends right there, and you're like, oh man, this is going to be a big showdown between these two. And then the third movie picks up like several years later, and Michael Myers went into hiding for some reason, and you're like, why? And the cops aren't looking for him? Like, what? It just made no sense.
Dude, wait a second.
Just pick it up right where it left off.
Danny McBride is one of the writers on this movie?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Writer. Yeah. Wow. On all of them. On all of the new all three.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Well, there you go.
Him and the director's brainchild, basically. So, yeah.
All right. Well, that's one for me to skip. It's funny. After seeing the horrible reviews and seeing what you had to say about it, I actually opened up Peacock earlier this evening just to see, like, hey, is there anything I want to watch this weekend? And that's the first thing that popped up, and I laughed out loud when I saw it. I was like, no.
Nope.
There is something on Peacock I'll bring up later that you should definitely. It's a little disturbing though, but it is really good.
Okay. All right.
We'll talk about it later.
All right. Let's talk through a few. Oh, go ahead, Dan.
No, I was just saying, it just from what you guys are describing, I don't. It sounds like a bunch of like, I don't know, sleepy like children that could write horrifying movies, like just like we're just like scribbling nonsense on a piece of with a crayon. Like
in this year where we're getting so much. I mean, I feel like I say this every year. We're getting such good inventive horror movies. Barbarian is so good. Barbarian's coming to HBO Max later this month. It's so good. And then Nope is amazing. Like, there's just no space for phoned in bullcrap anymore. There's just not.
That's what
and it's also just a fault of, like, I thought the first one was just so like, this is Halloween, like, you know, especially the way they shot it, like it was an 80s movie or even late 70s, and like the filter that they used and everything. It's like, man, they did a really good job of capturing what it felt like. The score was amazing. It was so strong. And the second one you can make excuses for if you're me, you know, but there's no excuses to be made by the time the third one comes around. It's like, how did we get here with how good it started, you know? And it's like they totally lost their entire vibe and their, I don't want to say message, but like the voice, if you will.
It is disappointing because they did always intend for this to be a trilogy. Like, and they had.
So that means they had it. That means like this was like the idea, maybe. This, you know, which is even scarier that this was your idea, like the whole time. Like,
it's weird. The only idea they had was like at some point when a kid defaulted to his death in front of his parents after a day.
People are gonna laugh at that.
Fall, like...
Let's just put that down on a napkin. Let's not forget that idea.
Oh my god.
Oh man. All right, let's talk through a few headlines before we kind of circle back to all kinds of other things we're playing and watching, because there's a lot, and I want to talk about some of those things. But to those of you who, for no apparent reason, hate Microsoft and Game Pass, and you just want them to fail, okay? And I know you're out there, and I know that
they're out there.
I know that you've got a problem, and that's okay. You need help. It's fine. But I'm sorry to tell you that Game Pass is making a lot of money for Microsoft. Yes, they're spending a lot of money, but I think it's safe to say it's paying off, literally. So per these docs, and I saw this, and Jeff edits the notes, but I was reading about this as well. The revenues from Game Pass were almost $3 billion last year. Is just under 20% of their total earnings last year. I mean, that's
imagine what the hell else are they making money off of? That's what kind of blew my mind, you know?
Crazy, man.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Well, is the argument that you know, you see that number and then people who want to argue it, it's like, well, I mean, how much are they spending though to get all the games?
That's absolutely the argument that I've seen.
Right. Okay.
Yep. And we
they're not being transparent enough about their figures. They're just throwing out a big number to make it, you know, it's like you wouldn't give any excuse.
Despite this,
to just not I take something at face value.
I still see the same sustainability argument, and I'm like, I just gave you a number of $3 billion. And you want to tell me it's not sustainable? Like, are you?
You know what's funny is the sustainability thing has been going on for, let's see, how long has Game Pass been around now? Like 5 years, and it's still going stronger than ever. You're right. Sustainability is a concern at this point. Good
Man.
call.
There are no games on there now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
None.
Just
Literally.
watch the Game Pass ecosystem. Like any of us who are subscribed to it, when they get the new, like, all right, here's what's coming to Game Pass next month. That's one of the first articles I'll click on because I want to see what I'll get to try next month, whether it's new or not. I don't care. Like, it's just like a streaming service. That is my favorite. You know, I'm gonna check to see what's going out there first. And yeah, I am subscribed to the PS Plus, whatever that thing is, but I have used it like 4 times since I've gotten it.
Sure.
Like,
I'm wondering if Microsoft. I wonder if most of their money comes from Windows on a professional environment, like for for companies, for big companies. That
almost
say,
certainly.
Yeah, right. It has to be. So I mean, Game Pass to them.
Think about how many
it's
large
fine to
corporations
experiment with.
use Microsoft not only for their, basic office tools, but for their entire databases and for all their backups and for all the major heavy lifting that huge corporations.
Azure,
they bought all
the
those.
stuff. Yeah, exactly.
They acquired all that stuff. They acquired Skype, which we're using right now. They acquired Teams. Like, they acquired all this stuff. So, all right. So they're doing fine. They're doing fine.
They're doing fine.
Basically, what I'm trying to say is they make so much money in other areas that Game Pass, they can afford to pay a little bit to make a little bit.
But you know what? It's interesting. I think they could afford it at the beginning, which is why it was so popular and so well loved right out of the gate. And now we're several years in, and it's starting to really pay dividends. Like, they're starting to see money come back in, as we're seeing even from last year.
I agree.
Sorry if you hate it, and if you just have a problem, it's okay. You just need to get it dealt with. Okay, go see someone.
Yeah, and if you do have a problem and you have an Xbox, you better not have Game Pass. Like, I swear to God, like, you better.
It's
the amount of time people put into like taking it down. They're like, yeah, but I go home and use it every.
Yeah, but I use it all the time.
Yeah.
Well, that's usually what it is.
Literally,
that's usually what it is, Kyle.
It's the same people who subscribe to Game Pass. They play the Xbox exclusives, which I understand there's not a ton of console exclusives. Okay, but you'll play them on day one, and you'll make fun of the fact that they don't have as many game sales or whatever. And it's like, dude, you subscribe to their service, which is their new way of getting games into your hands. Like, I don't know. It's whatever. Little self-reflection,
Tribalism
folks.
Is so weird. It makes people so illogical. It's just crazy.
That's all we're saying. Hey, but here's something funny. Almost 70% of the physical games sold in Japan last month
hold on. You said almost. What's the exact number?
I'm sorry, 69%. Yeah,
nice.
69%. Nice. Of all physical games sold in Japan last month were, and I quote from my buddy Jeff Widman, "Stupid ass Splatoon 3."
Oh, Jeff, sorry, by the way, I was literally trying to type in nice earlier, and I kept checking something by mistake, so like it kept doing something. I was like, fucking god damn it.
All right, so
I
don't think Dan ever uses any kind of Microsoft Word or Google Docs, because when you write comments and you hit the check mark by a comment, it deletes it. It's like, okay, everyone's read it and they've resolved it.
I've done it fine before, but I think when I do it on my phone, it I just happened to hit something wrong and it just didn't like it. And I was like, god damn it.
Right.
But then
I
kept getting notifications in my email that said like Daniel Freitas has resolved the comment. And I was like, what did he do?
Don't worry, I went back in, I fixed it, I typed in nice.
So this is I'm not knocking the success. It's very impressive.
It is.
69% nice is a crazy number. That's 2.7 million copies in the first 3 weeks alone.
It's a hit, man. It's a hit.
And that's
continues.
I guess I gotta stop. I guess I gotta stop being baffled by this, because now I know where the audience is. It's not really as much here
Jeff,
as it is over
someone
there.
gave you statistics. You have to take it at face value.
I can't just go, not sustainable.
It doesn't fit my narrative.
Exactly.
It's exactly what you do.
I'm still allowed to feel like those
like
games are stupid.
Yeah,
so,
that's your right.
Yeah, but they are undeniably successful.
They're very successful. Yep, absolutely.
I will deny it.
I think everyone who plays Splatoon games with all the tentacles watches hentai, so that's why.
Absolutely, cast on for sure.
Cast on. Like some people that listen would own that.
Listen, I gotta say, Splatoon 3, the whole Splatoon franchise now. Let's be honest, it's a franchise. Okay, so the whole Splatoon franchise is exactly what it told us it would be. So it's not like this game is pulling the rug out from anybody. It's like, this is a game starring these little squid children who are trying to just paint the area before the other team can. That's essentially the goal. And so that's what this game is. That's exactly what it is. So I can't ever fault it for not being something
And
else.
apparently the campaign's really good this time around. So
There you go. Whatever.
yeah.
I'll
So
never
more
find
power.
out.
Whatever.
I will
More
never
power.
find out.
You know, if there was only a way, we could figure it out. You know?
There's no way to know.
Yeah, there's no way to know. There's literally no way to check the information.
No
We
way.
don't have the technology. We don't have it.
Man, I know this
We
is
just
this
don't-
is
we
a
don't have
this is
technology.
a overworked joke, but like back in the day, like before internet, that's literally how conversations like this would have to end and be like, well,
Yeah, well, we'll never know.
Yeah, we'll never know.
Because I think you're wrong. And
like that
I'm not gonna change
Fairchild
my mind.
console thing, like you could
Now
make
it's
that up
like,
to a friend.
Hold on.
Let me Wikipedia that. Yeah.
Just immediately looking at your phone.
Yeah, but like back in the day, if there wasn't something in your Encyclopedia Britannica set that your parents were spent on, then too
Yeah.
bad. You know,
And if
yeah.
you
I
heard
only
it
had to let
back
her out.
twice by two different people or a statement, you just took it as fact. You're like, well,
Yeah.
two people are saying that, so everyone
There
else
was
must know this. Yeah.
I was I don't remember how old I was, but I was super young. It was single digits, and there was a kid at school that convinced me that he owned communicators that Power Rangers had. He convinced me of it.
I
If
think
I
Yeah,
had
tricked my
internet,
friends and
I would just been like, that doesn't exist.
yeah,
Right
there
here.
it is.
Bullshit. It,
Kids have it too
immediately
easy
would've
these
called him
days, you know.
out. But
Yeah, they do.
I could be convinced of most things when I was that age because internet
Yeah.
couldn't tell me otherwise.
Speaking of Power Rangers, because since I wasn't an avid watcher of that show, I had only seen it bits and pieces. My younger brother loved it, but for a minute there, and I think I've said this on the show before, I really thought that Terry Silver, recent villain from recent seasons of
You
Cobra
thought it
Kai,
was Tommy
Sure.
Oliver.
was Tommy. I really did.
Oh, get out of here! Really?
Just
No.
white guy with the ponytail. I was like, that's totally him.
Oh,
guy.
That's Jason
no.
Frank, Tim. Jason Frank.
Jason David Frank did not age that rapidly. I'm sorry.
No idea who that guy
He
is. either.
drank from the wrong grail, you know.
Hey,
that's
they're only
funny.
like 8 years apart, like in terms of like when those things were made. It's not that.
I
but
guess. I
Karate
guess
Kid 3.
Yes, you're
Yeah.
right.
Karate Kid
I
3
always
was,
think
I
of
think,
that series as being
89
all
or
in the 80s, and Power Rangers being like mid.
when
early
was
90s.
correct? Let's find out.
Totally
Karate-
different decades, guys.
Yeah, guys, it's totally
Power
different.
Rangers started
Totally,
mid-90s,
not
I
a
think.
lie.
Yeah, so Karate Kid 3 was 89.
Yeah, because I started. I remember like
I think
literally
Power
when it
Rangers
aired.
started 6 years later.
93.
I was gonna say 94. About to take a
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
93. Yes, it started 4
Oh,
years
wow.
later. So
All
come
right.
on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
So-
But Tommy
Um,
Oliver was a late season addition. He was the Sixth Ranger.
He was the evil green.
You guys,
Ranger
they shot
first.
all they clept all this stuff from Japan and then put a bunch
they
of white
did.
people
They
on
did.
it. That's
Yeah,
all
they did. They did.
That's
Hey, that
very
was
true.
like for real though. That whole story arc with the Green Ranger, that was awesome though. We can't even.
I wouldn't.
You can't
know.
even
I
lie.
didn't watch that show.
Oh, the
so-
gr-
that
oh
was
yes,
awesome.
for sure.
That was
I
sick.
mean, I think was he. So the Green Ranger was first, and they were like, "Oh, what's his motives?"
Well, because it was
And then-
Rita Repulsa. Rita
Yeah.
Repulsa basically had like
Corrupted
given the corrupted him
Yeah.
exactly.
So he was using the flute, the very manly flute, to summon a
Yes.
dragon Zord.
The Dragon Sword, which
Um,
I have right here.
Yes,
Okay.
I remember that, and it had things shot out of its fingers. Yep.
Yeah, pew, pew, pew.
I will
Um,
say that I did like the music video for Bring Me the Horizons Obey because they use these giant Power
Yeah,
Ranger
yeah.
style robots to battle in
that's
the
fun.
city.
That's fun.
I like that song too, but I thought the video was great.
Then the Megazord here.
Megazord,
Got
that's
the
first
Megazord.
one.
Good for
Ooh,
that.
that's excellent.
Yeah.
Dan is doing his little
That's
show and
season
tell
one
for
right there,
those
man.
of you
That's
who are listening.
Right.
I should say
Classic.
first
It's
run.
classic.
That's first run.
Little
Yeah,
show
that's
and
not.
tell.
Major
That's
Power Ranger
pre.
fan.
That's pre-turbo or whatever they did after that. Yeah.
Well, so it was. Shit, what the hell was
Yeah,
that?
it was turbo, right? It was.
No. I think it was Zeo. Was it Zeo? No.
No, it was turbo, then Zeo, then I lost track.
Turbo was not second. I think that was like third or fourth.
I have no idea.
I don't know. Anyway, that's
If
when I
only we
dropped
could look it
off.
up. If only we could look it up.
I know.
There's no way to know.
Way
We
we
will
could figure this
die.
out.
There's
Not
no way to know,
knowing.
guys.
And then, of course, I switched my interest from Power Rangers to a more mature format, wrestling.
Right, of course.
Yeah,
That's actually that transition makes a lot of sense to me.
It does, right?
that's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Dude, I was just sharing this with a friend the other day. Like there were a few better feelings in my I guess mid high school, like early teenage life than when I was given permission from my parents. I can go to my buddy Mark's house. So I'd ride my bike to his house, especially like during the winter, and it was cold. And I would get there, I'd get inside. His dad always had like the best name brand snacks. My family had the cheap snacks from Aldi. They had the awesome snacks that were like name brand. So I'd load up on snacks. We would go in his room and just watch like 3 straight hours, switching back and forth between Nitro and Raw, and
Yes. Did you
then
have
sometimes
you
he would
didn't
have
a
a
tube TV setup.
We did, but we would play the
Oh, okay.
PlayStation or N64 on that one. So we'd be
Ah.
playing video games
So
and wrestling's on and
We
snacks.
used to have
Oh.
my parents used to have
Such good
a
time.
really tiny TV for the kitchen, and we would it would be right next to the big TV in the living room. So we would just turn it around and rest it on top of the big TV.
So you'd have both wrestling.
And we would
on
have
it.
both playing at the same time. And then if something major was going on, we'd switch them. Like we'd go, oh wait, Sting is on Nitro. Switch it to the big TV. And
I still love the epic
Yeah.
mistake of the Nitro guys making fun of the fact that Mankind is going to win the,
yeah, and
the
everybody
belt,
turned the
and
channel.
then everyone switched over to see that. They're like, "What? Mankind's going to win?" So they wanted to go see it.
Yeah. And Stone
Oops.
Cold helped him win, right? That was like a big.
Yeah, that was a big
Yeah.
deal.
It was-
Yeah.
I remember
huge
switching
moment.
that over.
I,
But
dude, I remember watching that live. Like
Yeah.
that is a core memory right there.
Yeah.
that's big time. Core memory unlocked right there.
Yeah.
We know that the Last of Us TV show coming out next year, the actress Bella Ramsey, who made a name for herself in a fantastic role in Game of Thrones, she's going to be Ellie. Apparently, in an interview, she talked about how she was encouraged not to play the game before playing Ellie in the show.
You got
I
What
that.
do you guys think about that?
I
think
can tell you
she,
what the comment sections think about this.
Yeah.
It was something. Oh, so the show's gonna be the worst then, huh?
Yeah.
They didn't do their homework,
I think
Even
she
though
admitted
literally the
that-
guy who created Last of Us wrote the show as well.
and
but,
directing
Yeah.
the first
Direct-
episode. And, maybe
And
more,
actually, it was
who knows.
HBO that told her don't play the game. We want you to come
Right.
up with your own.
Do your
version of
own
Ellie."
version of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
respect that, but even
There's
then,
still gonna be a script, so that
she
the
still
moment
knows
you
what
know,
the game
like-
looks like. She still saw gameplay video just to be like, oh, what type of game is it?
Right.
Yeah.
And she admitted as much, so she was able to see like the brutality and stuff. But she has no grasp on what Ashley Johnson did as Ellie. Like it's.
But
gonna be
isn't that
really-
okay? Like Ashley Johnson
It
had to
absolutely is
create
okay.
the character out of nowhere. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
The script are just words. Like the actors are the
Yeah.
people who bring it to
It
life.
makes
So
it makes iconic moments feel more fresh when
Yeah.
you
I
have
think so.
when they have no background on those characters. Like it's going to be
I-
like us seeing it for the first time.
and it gives the actress or actor, depending, one less thing to worry about. Like just pour yourself into it as the character that you want to create
Mhm.
there, and let the
Right.
director and writers kind of guide you on going the right way or the wrong way. Like they'll let you know. So
Right.
I feel like those people that argue with that, like it's like, so their point is like, well, it should be just like the game. I feel like if it was literally shot for shot, like exactly the same, then they would bitch about that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's
Agreed.
like, well,
Yeah,
then
right.
It would be
why
too
can't I
much of
just
an
play the
homage,
game?
yeah.
Why can't I just play the game then? It's like,
yeah,
well,
I
make
mean,
up
it's the same with Pedro Pascal. I don't really want him to try to do his best Troy Baker impersonation. I want him to be Pedro Pascal's version of this character. Like, show me what you got, man. Like, because
Yeah.
he's a great actor, and when given
Yeah,
a
big
chance,
time.
like when I first saw him on the screen again in Game of Thrones, like I know he's been in other stuff, but that's the first time I ever saw him was
Same.
in Game of Thrones.
Same for me. Yeah.
And I was like, this dude is he's stealing every scene he's in. I just want more of this guy. And when his story arc in that show was over, I was so bummed. I was like, man, I want to see this guy in more stuff.
Great way to go out though.
Oh,
Yeah,
big-
happy ending. One of the few
my
happy
God.
endings
Yeah.
in all.
he
of
got to
the
really ride off
shows.
into the sunset,
Really got everything he wanted to, and retired
went
in
great.
old age.
Things went
Look, if
great.
you're gonna write me into show, just write me out with my head being exploded by a giant man. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. But I get him too in the end. Like it's a good
It's
way.
true.
All right.
It's true. Spoilers for come on, guys. That show's new.
10-year-old show. Whatever.
Yeah. And then he went on to Narcos, and he's amazing in that show.
Yep.
And then he.
That's right. He is good in Narcos.
God dang it! Obviously Mandalorian.
He was in
he's done
the
other stuff.
excellent Wonder
Oh.
Woman too.
Hey, you could be better, or whatever the line is.
It's the worst movie.
You're good, but you could be better. Hey, this movie sucks.
That movie's
and
so bad.
He was amazing in that Nick Cage playing himself movie. He
Yeah,
so
he was really
hilarious
good in that.
movie.
Yeah, he was very funny. in that
The
movie.
massive talent one.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
unbearable weight of massive talent.
I need to see that. Okay.
He
very
is
funny.
like he plays like his Nick Cage's the guy who hires Nick Cage to come over and for a birthday party or whatever, and then they end up becoming bros, and there's like a real bromanship that comes out of that. That's really
Yeah.
really funny, and they just play off each other so brilliantly. Pedro was like game for all of it, and I didn't know he had that type of comedic
Yeah.
knack. Other than doing a Community table read, I had no idea that
Yeah.
he was really into comedy like that.
Trying to think what
That's
else I've seen him in. I feel like I saw him in something else after that, but I guess not.
Here's
Yeah,
some
I guess.
He's
I guess
just
it was-
in really high profile things. He's just got
Yeah, man.
He's got a good agent.
He's one of the dudes right now. You know?
He's one of the dudes. Yep.
Always getting the phone
He's
calls.
not quite the
He's
Chris
a
Pratt
dude.
levels, but he's close. He's close.
I was gonna say, like, it's almost like Chris Pratt, right? But everyone's like tired of Chris Pratt.
But people don't hate him yet. That's the difference. So they're like, oh, Chris Pratt.
Give him time.
It'll happen.
It'll happen.
So PlayStation 5 shipments are apparently really ramping up these days, which is good. And also, I did see that there's a God of War Ragnarok bundle that's been announced. I don't think it's a special edition of the actual console or controller that's included. I think it's just a bundle where you get the PS5 with the disc version. It's the disc version of the PS5 and a digital code for God of War, which I think is funny.
You know what? You know what? Actually, that's the version of the PS4 I got. When I first got a PS4, it was the version that came. It was the Last of Us edition.
Okay.
Didn't have know any decorative things with it or anything. It just
PS4.
came with Last of Us remastered.
Yeah.
And it was digital. There was no physical game for it. I thought that was really funny.
Which makes sense. I mean, it's all they have to do is print something out for you, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that they didn't. I don't think they had a price for that, but everyone assumes in the 550 range.
So yeah, apparently, and this is according to people that like weigh trucks and stuff or whatever. U.S. apparently in the U.S. PS5 shipments are up 400% from like last month. Like they were up 400%.
Dang.
And so they're ramping up big time for the holidays.
Yeah, that's great.
You know,
good.
That's great.
You know, the cheaters are still going to get their batch, but you know, at least there's going to be more.
I can't imagine there's a ton of money to be made on that resale market. At least not as much.
You know what really went well, and there's a whole blueprint for the Steam Deck. Just do it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody got theirs. You got in a queue. You got in a line. You got an email. It got sent to you. You know, like I just.
And if you think about it, that was within 7 months of it releasing. I know the numbers are probably much smaller, of course,
what,
than like
17
PS5,
months. You know, at this point, like
I wonder.
It's too complicated.
I wonder what the numbers are. Are there sales numbers for Steam Deck? I wonder how many they did. That'd be cool.
We will never know.
We'll never know. There's no.
I don't know. I actually don't know if they post that.
They might not release that.
Yeah,
Gabe's never going to tell us.
Yeah.
It is really amazing that they were able to say, I don't think we included this in the notes anywhere, but they were able to say, you know what, we don't need to do the reservation model anymore.
You want one? We got them.
You want one? Just go buy one. I love that. I love seeing
that.
All right, so Steam Deck. It looks like it's definitely over 1 million, which I would have guessed.
So
I would have guessed
on PS5. All right. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. For a non-Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo console, that's quite good for the first 7 months. That's crazy.
Especially during a chip shortage.
Yeah.
Like during a time frame of a chip shortage, you know?
Yeah.
And it's really telling about the quality of the Steam Deck too. You're not hearing all these horror stories about I had to return it, it was on fire or whatever. Like you're not hearing all these.
Mine's red
things.
ring. You didn't hear about that?
No, I haven't.
The red ring.
Red gate.
Well, speaking of PC and Steam, Spider-Man Miles Morales will be on PC on November 18th. Right before Thanksgiving. I do wonder too.
Just in time for no games. You know,
I know.
Continues.
I do wonder if that'll be. It's probably too soon. It's just gonna have released, but do you think it'll be on sale? Maybe not on sale right away. It'd be cool though if it were part of the Steam holiday sales that are gonna be popping up.
Sometimes games come out and day one they have like a 10% off sale. You know what I mean?
Scorn is. So.
Yeah, I'm all in on getting this on PC. I had so much fun playing 2018 Spider-Man again on PC. Just so much fun.
I've beaten Miles Morales, the game, not the person. I'm not racist. I've beaten it like 4 times now.
Hold on,
I'm already hyped to beat it again.
Yeah,
so.
I've only played it the once, and
Me too.
I think it's been long enough where I want to play it again. So
yeah.
Because that was the very first game I played and beat on my PS5. Because I think Tim and I didn't we take a vow that we were gonna wait? Didn't you wait too? Okay.
I did wait.
Yeah.
Like we're not gonna play that game.
It was me. It was
same
in our
PS4.
hand singing that game's praises.
Yeah, because we had it. I got
a little more
launched.
lukewarm on it.
Dan's all talking about Game of the Year. We're like, we're not even listening to you right now. We refuse to play it.
It's like, listen, guys, there's feels.
Bring it up next year. Sorry.
Yeah, that game is excellent. It stands in a very small group of like the spin-off games that isn't really it's too big to be a DLC, but it's too small to be a full release in the franchise. You know, and I think Lost Legacy from Uncharted is another example of that. Yeah. There's very few games that do it and do it really well, and that's one of them. It's so good. So I'm excited to play that one again. Definitely will buy that one on PC again. But so there's some positive stuff about Sony, right? A lot of PS5s moving. Spider-Man coming to coming to PC.
What did
Spider-Man Miles
Jim
Morales.
do, guys?
What's happening? What's
So
happening?
Jeff, you explain this one. Jeff, you explain this.
Okay, so you know that Sony's been going.
It's
to
Call
the
of Duty again. They can't shut up.
Oh,
About
God
Yes.
damn it.
So Sony
Jim.
has been trying
Jimmy?
to get the EU to not approve the deal for Microsoft and Act.
This is the
And
Brussels
their
stuff, right?
argument was, well, you know, if this deal goes through, Call of Duty players are going to just switch to Xbox. And they said, Sony said, that's even if we keep it on PlayStation. That makes no sense. In what world does that make sense? Like,
Actually, we don't want you. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, it's just crazy to me that not he. I don't know who's making the argument. I assume it's Jim Ryan though. But yeah, that was what I gathered from the article was they were basically telling the regulator, hey, we're going to lose customers because of this, even if Call of Duty stays on PlayStation after the deal goes through. And that kind of that's just busted ass logic to me. That doesn't make any sense. Like if the there you go.
Dan, that's perfect.
If you keep the game on your console, people are going to play it on your console. It doesn't.
Correct.
That's not how that works. So I don't.
Well,
that was a really
Microsoft
weird
basically
argument to me.
but Microsoft essentially reacted with exactly what you just said. Like, we have no plans to get it. It's better for Call of Duty, better for us if it's on as many consoles as possible.
Yeah.
We have no plan. Like, they have no immediate plans to remove it from play. But it's almost like it's like when you're in a relationship and you're worried that someone's going to break up with you, and you keep asking them every time you say, oh, you're going to break up with me, aren't you? You're going to break up with me. Are you going to break up with me? And eventually they're like, I'm going to break up with you now. I wasn't going to before, but you won't shut up about it. So now we're done. And so it's kind of the same thing where it's Microsoft's going to be like, you know what?
prophecy
You know what? We're done with this.
Yeah.
They're like, don't do it. Don't do it.
Guys, come on. You look at that face and it just you feel bad, you know? You just look at him. Look how sad he is.
Yep.
I could have sworn, I was looking it up, I couldn't find it right now, but I could have sworn I saw another quote from like a Microsoft person who was like, Sony has plenty of IP, so I don't know what they're. And I'm like, we're all screaming. We're all screaming that, buddy. I feel you know, like, I'm sure people at Microsoft are being like, why are they doing this? Why are they being like this?
That Brazilian regulator last time was like, Nintendo hasn't had Call of Duty in years, and they're doing fine.
That
like,
one, I love. That's still the jab of the fight.
It's great.
So,
and it's so true. Like, it's like, hey, you also found a new lane to live in and thrive in. So
Call of Duty has been basically the biggest money-making game for numerous years in a row. And Jimmy over here is just like, I think he's just concerned that that's not going to, eventually they're going to be like, oh, sorry, not on PlayStation. So, and then it's just not going to
the amount of
push
people
the systems,
who still refuse to use like digital media, and it's a lot, you know, like those people aren't going to just flock to Xbox and start playing that game on Game Pass for free. There's a huge chunk of people who are just going to keep on buying games on PlayStation and playing them right where they've always been playing them. And I guess I really just don't understand the urgency of crying Ryan.
They're acting like they're in third place, and yet they're dominating the console sales.
And have been
for
forever.
years.
Even when they were getting punched down in PS3, they like came back.
They still came back and took the lead.
Yeah. So.
I mean, outside of the Wii phenomenon, that's the only reason that they didn't totally take first place, right? Was just the phenomenon of the Wii. That was the only thing.
We need that Sony back, because it feels like the early PS3 era. It's like they're
that vibe of cocky.
It's the heel era, right? They're heels again, and then we go back to baby.
You guys aren't cheering loud enough for me.
It's the heel.
Yeah. Oh man, I feel like whenever he comes out, he gets the Kurt Angle "You Suck." The dun. You suck.
Yeah, love it.
Persona 3 Portable, Persona 4 Golden. Those are all going to be dropping in January. I believe they're just on Xbox though. They're coming to Game Pass, right? I don't think they're coming.
The only console they're not coming to is PS5.
Put that picture back on.
They will be PS4 releases.
Okay. Yeah. Excuse me. Okay.
Just kidding. You don't have to do that. There you go. But yeah,
more looking at his face.
And hey, listen, those are all just beloved games, and that's great that they're getting more visibility.
Yeah, guys, let's hear it for more re-releases. Let's do more.
We want Persona to be on other things, because
the difference is it's not taking resources away from new projects. You guys don't understand this. Like, okay, Yeah.
What was
Okay. All right. You're right. No person had to work on that whatsoever. It was just a
No,
button.
someone
they pushed.
actually copied and pasted.
Yeah,
you
it was
know,
just a
that
button
it.
they
It was,
pressed a
it was,
button and
it was
said,
a 1
"Ready."
hour
It's different
coffee
for
break.
them than every other company. You guys don't
Yeah.
understand it. It's fine.
That's
It's
fine.
very complex. Guys, Konami might be working on several Silent Hill games, according to the movie director.
Yeah.
Do you think any truth to that? You think?
The movie director
would he
said
know?
he's
But
Why
wait,
would he know?
like,
What is he
Yeah, he
on
just made
speed
one
dial
movie.
at like Konami, and they're like, "Hey, guess what, buddy? We're making more video
He
games."
said
And he's
he's
like, "Oh,
been,
thanks for calling."
he has not resources. He has sources at Konami, and he's been working with them. That's what he says.
For what?
He says he's been
maybe a
working with them on
movie?
Silent Hill.
Maybe put out a new movie. Maybe it's a movie with a video game tie-in. There's a new idea.
There we go.
No one's
That's
ever
gonna
done
play
that.
well.
We didn't have a whole phase of that.
And at this point, I am off the Konami hate train. I'm sorry, but they were releasing Suikoden 1 and 2 in an awesome updated package for next year. So
I still hate them.
I'm off the hate train personally, but I appreciate and respect that you guys are still riding it, and that's fine.
My hate train doesn't come from Konami, whatever to Konami, but just the joke that every 3 months we have to talk about some Silent Hill reboot. Like, it's coming, guys.
Dude,
It's
that
been
is
coming
very
for
true.
like 6 years, everybody.
That's what
so,
she
like,
said.
If we look back at our notes, I bet you there's a Silent Hill rumor once every month or so as we go back.
That's like where I'm.
Yeah.
It just, to me, this news is
Hey,
like.
but this
this
guy
again?
did that one
Like,
movie a long time ago. It was really
Hey,
good.
it's pretty all right. I like that movie. All right.
What? I like that.
Yeah,
movie.
the first Silent Hill movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that
That's
movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
I haven't watched it. But hey, there's
Why
more
do you hate
delays.
games, Tim. Tim
There's-
hates games.
I said I haven't watched. Okay. There's
you hate games,
another.
therefore you don't watch movie adaptations of the games. Whatever.
Oh, we all hate games.
Trickle down hate.
Witchfire, which is a game that's by the Vanishing of Ethan Carter team. Apparently, it was announced. I didn't realize this in 2017, then re-revealed this past year, and it was one that I've been very excited about since the re-reveal.
Yeah.
But according to them, they had to bump this to 2023. They believe that they're close to finishing it, but they decided to make it an open world approach to how you can explore and unlock areas, as opposed to more of a corridor type of an approach. And they said they're like 95% done with implementing the open world structure.
It's a pretty big lateral move, but you know,
I
they
think
said
so.
that they're pretty done with it. So I guess it didn't set them back
Yeah.
too far.
So they're just saying, hey, it's
No.
2023. We don't have an exact release date for you yet, but I think they're
And even
expecting
then, it
early.
would
It's
be
cool to
early
you get to the end of your
access,
development
won't be.
cycle, and there's room to be like,
Yeah.
hey, let's like add some
Yeah.
stuff here. Like, let's spice this up a little bit here.
So I'm still looking forward to that one. It's one of those that if
Same
it
here.
keeps getting bumped back, it's going to easily get just kind of forgotten at some point. But as long as it stays somewhat on track and like just deliver a really solid, that, you know, you guys remember that game? It had that kind of first person, like shotguns mixed with magic and kind of that fantasy setting a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit with specters
cool.
and stuff. Very, very interesting. So I'm looking forward to that one. Don't forget, November 8th, even though Skull and Bones is no longer coming out, Sonic Frontiers is going to still
Oh, thank God.
on November 8th.
Thank God.
Apparently there was a new look at the combat systems, and it's gonna have legit like upgrade trees where you upgrade abilities and special moves and stuff where you can stun enemies and attack and all that. Like you can upgrade. Listen, none of us are buying this. If you're just listening, the faces I just saw, everyone's like,
I'm doing my best. You know what I mean?
Hey, well, I'm still waiting to see. I mean, we'll see.
this is gonna be
Yeah.
hilarious. If this thing comes out to like 9 out of 10s across the board, it's gonna be
still
so
won't buy it.
funny.
I still don't care.
It's gonna be amazing. I hope it is at least minimum 9s. Like that's gonna be amazing.
I would love it. I would love it if it's like in a
I hope it
legit.
gets 10s. I still won't play it.
If it's like legit game of the year.
I still won't
It's,
play it. I don't care.
it's literally, it's like, you know what? We had to make a new scoring system because we love this game that much.
It's
You got
11
an
out of
11.
10.
It's literally a flawless masterpiece. I'm still like, no.
Kyle's like, no, I don't believe you.
And
Kyle
I
just
like
doesn't-
Sonic. I
He
want
just
nothing
doesn't
to do with
attend
this
the game of the year debates because he
little-
won't listen to it. He's like,
Yeah,
no,
right.
not gonna
You
do
guys
it.
even say that word, I'm logging off.
See, Jeff's gonna say that he likes it, and then out of spite, Kyle's gonna be like, no, absolutely
Let me
not.
prove this wrong. Yeah.
It's true.
Sir. No.
Realistically, I think this game is destined for like a 7 out of 10 average, maybe 77,
it's-
75 out of 100.
There
probably.
are a lot of cheerleaders for this game that I didn't realize. I was like, people really like Sonic, and
Yeah.
I hope it's good for them. Like, seriously.
I hope it's good too, but I expect it to be fine. That's where my expectations is. I
I
don't think
hope-
it's gonna be
And
bad.
I hope everybody out there, that's their expectations too.
Yeah.
Because I think that might set you up for where it's going to be.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be fine. If it's bad, I'll be surprised. If it's amazing, I'll be surprised. If it's somewhere in the, between average and pretty good range, that's what I'm expecting. But we'll see. Netflix. We've complained about Netflix before. Their prices have gone up, and they talked about launching a lower priced version with ads, and they're going to do that. Not only is it going to have ads, it's called Basic with ads, but apparently it's going to be lacking certain selections of stuff, at least initially. Like some of the newer stuff, you'll have to wait to watch.
Okay.
And so it's basic plan with ads, and it's going to launch on November 3rd. So here in about 3 weeks for $7 a month. It's actually a pretty good price, but I don't know what you're missing. You'll have to go look it up to see what kind of content you won't be getting if you're a Netflix subscriber. And then your standard basic is $10 a month. Standard is $15.50, and premium is sitting at $20. And of course, with each of those, you get more devices to stream at once. You get higher quality resolution. Like you get more with each, step up.
I could be wrong, but I think I don't know if it's confirmed, but it's also you're not going to be able to achieve 1080p.
It's
It
720.
streams in 720.
Yeah. It's gonna look great. It's almost like that's
Build
meant
a
for
crisp
phone watchers.
720.
Like, I'll be honest. Like, I do watch a good number of shows, especially ones that I don't care about, like visual fidelity. If I'm just kind of on the move or moving around the house, I watch a good amount of content on my phone. So that doesn't bother me, if I'm being totally honest, except for certain movies and certain shows. I'm like, well, I'm watching that on the big screen.
Yeah.
So I actually don't care about the 720p in probably like 75% of circumstances. That's just me, though. I know that's not everybody.
The ads for me is.
I mean, I have to go
ads,
with the every single time. I have to go with the 4K plan. I really wish they thought through restructuring these plans so their 4K plan isn't hidden by the highest tier. Like it's
kind of crazy.
It's really messed up to me. Like no other streamer has that. Like
4K is just the
Max,
standard.
you pay
if it's
one fee, and some things are in 4K, some aren't. That's it. You know what I mean? Like Disney Plus, same thing.
They figured out a way to make it an uptick.
Yeah.
Netflix.
Yeah, for Netflix, it's
killer
like, well,
that.
you can get 4 screens and UHD. No.
Well,
Just
also
in
on
general.
top, we're gonna throw in a cancel your favorite show. So
you guys like Stranger Things?
And that's for free.
Gone.
We're just throwing that in for free.
God, not finishing the story. Gone.
Kids are 40 now. It's
People like to do that on social media, like, hey, pick one of these 4 franchises that you would have to get rid of.
Right.
And Netflix does that for real. They're like, which one are you getting rid of?
Every quarter, they're like,
advice.
one's got to go.
Yeah.
That's their staff meetings every Monday. Which thing are we canceling this week, you guys?
My favorite of those, by the way, by favorite, I mean the one that makes me the most mad, is when they're like, what franchise do we get rid of? And it'll be like Marvel, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, DC, something like that. It'll usually be 4, because I think you can only post like 4 pictures. Yeah. And everybody will go, Marvel. Oh. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you guys?
Well,
have you seen half the DC movies?
Well,
it's just the biggest target, man.
Say
it's
that
just the
so
biggest
many
target.
people have seen these movies. So you hate watching these movies? What's going on here?
They get so much money because of all the viewers. It doesn't make any sense.
You're just upset that Marvel never got Schneider and his genius in there.
That's what it
is.
is.
No one is upset about that.
You're just upset.
No one's upset about
No
that.
one's upset about that. 0 people. He's making Rebel Moon. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
He's
making his Star Wars, guys.
It's gonna be a Star Wars, guys. He tried to pitch a script to Star Wars Disney, and they're like, no, we're not taking that. And so now he's making this movie with that script, and he just changed all the Star Wars names.
I hope it's called War Stars.
Yeah, it's called Rebel Moon,
which is pretty much the same thing. It's basically
those are words in Star Wars.
Space battles.
Yeah,
space battles.
It's like the unusual findings in Stranger Things.
I'm already annoyed by that movie.
So let's talk about other stuff we're playing and watching. I'll start with you, Dan. And I think you're streaming this as well, but tell me about Valkyrie Elysium and what you think about this game so far. Are you streaming this one?
So that one I am not streaming.
Okay.
But actually before that, I did confirm Power Rangers Zeo was before Turbo, Jeff, so suck it.
What?
I still don't know what you're talking about.
Are those Street Fighter names? Or?
Yeah.
Power Rangers.
My disappointed face.
I know.
And
so the White Ranger too. Remember when he lost his Green Ranger powers because the candle burnt out, and then he got the power. He got the White Ranger powers.
Yep,
that was
that sounds like something that happened. That's for sure.
I remember, because what's his name? was up in the rafters spying on them making the White Ranger outfit. I remember that.
Right? Yeah. Exactly.
I can't remember who it was though that was spying.
It might have been Billy. Was it Billy? I don't
That
know.
rascal Billy.
Yeah, we're in the weeds
No
here.
idea.
Valkyrie Elysium. All right. So unfortunately, I really liked the demo. I played the Valkyrie Elysium demo.
Oh, I hear a butt coming.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I really liked it. So I guess in that short burst, I was like, oh, I actually like what's going on here. I like the combat. It is slightly stiff, but like I do enjoy it, and there is stuff going on here. Like I like when there's kind of a grapple where you can pull yourself towards the enemy. I enjoy that sort of thing to kind of close the gap. And there's definitely like a combo system, so there's some depth there. And you're jumping around and doing different moves. But this game is, to me, it is a swimming in sevens game, unfortunately. So I'm a big proponent of stories more than anything. So I'm more pro story than the gameplay. That's the type of player that I am, and I really enjoyed the story of Dio Field Chronicles. So for me, like that game is heightened by the story, but I also really like the way that they did the strategy combat in that game. And this one, it's like the Valkyrie, who's the main character, is just like, she's just boring for like most of the game until just now, where I'm at chapter 6. I think there's 9 chapters. So in chapter 6, she's starting to sort of change a little bit because I forget who played the demo, but there's you can summon like companions in the middle of
I remember you guys talking about it. Yeah.
Yes, so you can summon companions in the middle of combat. That's all tied into the story. So when you start the game, it's kind of like a tutorial, and you can summon a couple of them. But then when you actually start the actual game proper, you don't have access to them. And finding them is part of the story. So they're basically like these like extra like powerful souls that are lying around in the world. That when you find them, then you can recruit them as soldiers. Because Ragnarok has happened, or it's about to happen, or something. There was the big fight between Fenrir and Odin. So you're trying to basically
and it made Odin really tired, guys.
He's really tired, and
he's tired.
He's not feeling well. He's not. So you're basically exploring the
then
world.
when you meet him, he's fine. He's literally like, he's like, hey guys, what's up?
Well, he's just sitting in a chair, but he can't do anything apparently. So
he got a nap. He's
you. He sends you to go do like his dirty work, essentially.
Go do stuff.
You're exploring the world, and you're fighting enemies, and you're kind of basically trying to recover Odin's power. And then later on down the line, you're finding these kind of powerful artifacts or something along the lines of that. But yeah, it's just like the combat's not terrible. It is fun. Yeah. But I find myself basically sticking to the main sword that you start the game out with, because you can upgrade each weapon 10 levels, but like the attack power is the same. So like whether you're using a spear or like the sword, for example, if you've upgraded them 8 times, the attack is the exact same, unless you attach like some sort of additional like item to it to make the plus 30 attack or something like that. So there's really no, other than just the combos like being different, like looking different, it's like there's no point of actually swapping weapons really.
Gotcha.
They're doing the same attack damage.
That's a bummer.
So I'm just using the same weapon because like it's like, oh well, I like the sword. It's a good sword.
Yeah, no motivation to branch out from that.
Yeah, exactly. Getting the summons is really cool because like I got the last one recently, and she's a magic user. So now I have all 4 of the companion slots filled in, and I do like summoning them because like they kind of all are different styles. Like she's a magic user. The first guy you find is a swordsman, then you find an archer, and then you find like almost like a paladin. She has like a spear and a shield or something. And throwing them into combat's really cool because they're kind of doing their thing and they're helping you out. So it's really fun.
Yeah.
But it's just the combat pretty much stays the same. It doesn't really feel like it like changes in a fun way. So where
it's a Solstice type game where like the combat's the same pretty much throughout the whole
Solstice is actually more fun because to me Solstice is more like a Devil May Cry Bayonetta. So it has this slickness to it where I feel like this game is just it just has like a slight stiffness to it. It's hard to explain. You just kind of have to play it to really kind of. You would have to play that and then like a Devil May Cry, like played like obviously the top tier to kind of get what I'm saying with the difference of like the fluidity of the movement of the characters. But there's a difference there to me. And then again, like I said, the Valkyrie, the main character, she's just kind of like this like empty husk. You're just doing Odin's bidding, so she's just kind of like focused on like doing everything for Odin. So then you meet this character that looks like a Valkyrie also. And she's just like, well, I have to kill you because you're opposing Odin. She doesn't question anything. So she's just kind of like this mindless drone that's just doing stuff.
And you said you're almost done, so you would know if she started questioning anything at this point, right? Like,
well, so because now that I have the 4 companions, I think being around them is started because they actually even just had a conversation when I finished the last mission that I did. They're like, oh, I noticed the Valkyrie starting to seem more human-like. But it's like, I'm 6 chapters in. I think there's 9 chapters.
There are.
Maybe should have started that a little sooner, the progression, so there could have been some kind of more depth to the story there with her. I don't give a shit about the Valkyrie because she's boring and just kind of like, all right, well, I'm doing the thing because Odin told me to do the thing. So
yeah, what you're saying doesn't sound all that different from the reviews, honestly. Like, I mean,
yeah.
I've heard very similar things from reviews.
Yeah, and it's actually sitting at a sinking in 6s. It's got a 65 on Metacritic right now.
I'm by no means hating it, but I did have a coupon. I think I paid like 40. No, it was like 36. I think that's a fair price around there. If you paid 60 for this, I'd be like, ooh, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's not a 60 game. But I really liked Diofield because again, I really liked the story and I liked the characters and I thought there was more depth to the characters in that game. So that's why with that one for me, it's like, oh, I really like this and I actually didn't mind spending the 60 on that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's a swimming in 7s, I guess sinking in 6s potentially.
I had fun with the demo, but I'll definitely wait for a sale.
Yeah,
same.
For the full thing.
And it hits PC in November, so it's only on PS5
I'll just wait for that.
for the moment.
Yeah, I would say if it's around,
CDs will give me that game half off no matter what, so it doesn't matter.
Yep.
So yeah,
for sure. All right, so a couple quick hits I wanted to share, and then I know Jeff's got some as well.
One mainly.
Listen, we're in this kind of weird limbo between like I finished up a couple of games, including like Batman Arkham Origins, and so I've just been trying out stuff that hits Game Pass or stuff I hear talked about on other podcasts or people mentioning because I know I'm about to get into Mario plus Rabbids and Gotham Knights and Call of Duty, and I got all these games that are just going to start rolling it, and Plague Tale starting on Monday. Like I'm very excited for all of these other games, so I'm just kind of diddling some small games here and there. So I tried a couple new Game Pass games. Coral Island and Dyson Sphere program. To be fair to both of them, I think they are part of the game preview program, I think, for PC.
Yeah, I think
so
I saw that. Yeah.
Kind of like early access, but through Game Pass on PC. Coral Island is Stardew Valley with a different coat of paint. Like it's just a different art style and animation style. Some of the character art design when they talk actually remind me of the drawings from Lilo and Stitch, that Disney movie. Just kind of has that vibe to it. Some of the characters do. But it's very
movie since it came out. That's crazy.
It's very Stardew Valley. So like you arrive at a place, someone's really nice to you, they show you your farm, they're way too generous, they're giving you all kinds of stuff and tips and tools to get you started.
You want my wife? Here's my wife.
They're just giving you all kinds of stuff, and then they're like, all right, now here's your barren fields. You have to go and chop down trees and crush up rocks and gather. It's very Stardew Valley.
Literally Stardew Valley. Yeah, that's crazy.
If you like that kind of game, that's what Coral. I think they add in additional elements that maybe aren't in Stardew. Some additional gameplay elements. I don't know if there's a big like dating sim element like Stardew has.
So
but,
I didn't even. Is that on the list here?
Coral Island. It's under my kind of quick hits. For Coral.
Yeah, I kickstarted this.
For Coral Island? Okay.
Yeah, because you know how my wife and I like
these. Have you tried it?
No. So I'm I haven't started the because I figured that's something that we would want to play together.
Yep.
So I haven't tried the
Yeah, if you like Stardew or games like that, then I think this one's worth giving a look. So
yeah, I think the thing that kind of resonated with her too was like the character portraits, like you said. Yeah, very Disney like.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It has its own unique little take.
It's kind of like what Jeff said, where it's like, yeah, I tried it out. I know what it is. I've already uninstalled it, but it's not because it's a bad game. I'm just like, I don't want to. If I want to play a game like this, I'm just gonna go back to Stardew because I freaking love that art style and Super Nintendo throwback vibe. So that's what I'll play if I want to do this. But
yeah, this one's gonna have some unique things. Sorry, because I remember they hit one of the goals where they're gonna add like actually an underwater section.
So I saw that in one of the trailers, but I didn't see it in my time playing it. I just did some basic farming stuff, talked to some people. They taught me how to fish. Like it's just very basic.
Okay. Yeah, you can do some like not spelunking? That would be cave. You could just do some diving. You could do diving. I think there's like a mermaid down there. So like so I think that's actually kind of unique. A little underwater area you can explore. So
yep. And then Dyson Sphere program is kind of exploration, automation kind of a thing. Lots of resources to gather, lots of planets to explore. There's a whole storyline around it, like why you're trying to do this. But you're in a robot. That reminds me of that game Rift Breaker, if you played that. But anyway, you're setting up automation systems and conveyor belts. Like if you tried stuff like Satisfactory or Factorio, and if you like that kind of thing, that's what Dyson Sphere program is. And it's got a cool style to it as you go from planet to planet. Like the planets aren't big, so you can actually see the curve of the planet as you're walking around on it. So they're a little smaller.
Or flat if you're
very,
Earth.
Nope, not flat. Not flat on this one. Sorry, Jeff. Flat Earth.
No, I'm saying if you're looking at Earth, it's flat.
You're right. All right, fine. You got me. Yeah, there's an edge to it.
Flat.
Yep. But anyway, this game's fine. I mean, I like those kind of games sometimes. I have to be in the right mood. I have to really want to play a strong simulation game that's got tons of detail. And this has tons of detail, tons of upgrades, lots of resources to gather and collect, and then you build a smelter so you can build the next thing. Like there's all kinds of steps to this. And so I could see it being really fun if that's the mode that you're in, if you like that stuff. But again, not one of those ones I installed, tried it out, and then uninstalled because I'm just not going to play that right now. But neither of those are bad games. I don't want to give that impression. They're very niche, in my opinion. Now, one I do recommend if you like story-based games with lots of dialogue choices and some management elements, I recommend trying out The Pale Beyond. It doesn't even release till next year, but there's a Steam demo out right now where you join the captain on this ship. I can't really tell what time frame it's set during because it looks really old school, but then they talk about like you have a guy join the ship who everyone recognizes from films. So it must be like early 1900s or something. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be set in the real world or not, but anyway, you join a ship and you become first mate, and you are advising the captain on lots of decisions to make, like who you assign to what. Do you let the stowaway stay on board? Like, do you serve this many rations for this week, or do you pull back to save for when things get worse? So there's some management elements that you have to do, but a lot of it's also just exploring the boat, and it's kind of like from a map view. So you click on a doorway to go to that doorway, and then you can click on a character if they're available to talk to. And you can learn more about them and decide if you want to assign them to a job later as you get to know them. And so I think there's going to be a mystery to solve as well at some point. But I thought the demo was pretty cool. I really liked the style of it a lot. I thought it had a really cool
style. I like the art style, what I'm looking at.
This almost gives me like a way more in-depth, like involved, like Oregon Trail, but like on a boat.
Yeah, there might be elements of that as you get deeper. It was pretty lightweight on some of the decisions, at least early. A lot of it is dialogue decisions you have to make, and I just really like the way that they did it. I thought the writing was really clever, and so I really dig it. I think it's pretty cool. But again, very story centric adventure game. Select your dialogue, that kind of thing. It's not super action.
I'm definitely gonna try that. I mean, because it's a demo and it's free. I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, it's a cool setting. I like the Pale Beyond so far. I mean, who knows? The full game comes out next year. So, and that's all. Oh, there's one other one, a little mobile game called Hero Emblems 2. It did cost money. This is one of the rare times I spent money on it just because it was recommended so highly. The second one just came out. So Hero Emblems 2 just came out this summer. The first one came out in 2015 and was apparently really well loved. But basically, it's Puzzle Quest. So if you had a DS back in the day and you played Puzzle Quest, where it's a match 3 kind of Candy Crush style game, but you do it within the context of a turn-based RPG where you're doing moves to either heal or attack or whatever based on what gems you match up. It's that style of game. So it's a match 3 RPG.
That reminds me of that. What the hell was it? The Battle Chef or something? Was that
Yes, the Battle Chef. I like the Battle Chef game, by the way.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that game. The art in that game is amazing too.
The art was really good. So good. Yep. Yeah. But that also had some cool action side-scrolling sequences to mix things up. Yeah. But yeah, this is very much an RPG with characters and full dialogue and equipment to upgrade, and you level up, and it's got all the RPG elements to it. There's no pay to win stuff because it's like $7 for the game, and then you own the game and you just play it because there's no like, play for to earn 3 hearts today. It's not that kind of a mobile game. So anyway, I thought it was kind of a fun little distraction that I had recommended, or I heard recommended, and so yeah, I like that one. All right, so what else are you guys playing?
You mentioned Quick Hits, so I'll just mention that I did play a little bit of Grounded on Xbox now that the game had its full launch.
Yeah.
couple weeks ago, I guess. It was like late September.
Yep.
And I understand that there is a campaign mode, but you kind of have to go through like a tutorial of a whole bunch of stuff because it is a survival game. So you really have to learn how you're gonna navigate that world and not die. You know, you're gonna have to learn how to. It's a Honey I Shrunk the Kids type setting, so you're gonna have to learn how to, get a dewdrop from a plant and drink it. You're gonna have to learn how to do that stuff. So you have early on, like you have like this yellow goal that's like your main story goal where you're trying to figure out all the equipment that's in the yard and how you got there. And then you have like, I think they're blue, the survival goals, like how to build something, or you do need to build something because you need to craft something. You need to build a bed that you can sleep in during the night when all the insects start getting a little more aggressive. Stuff like that. So like, it's really charming. It's an Obsidian game, so it's not like it's not funny. Like I chose to be the nerdy guy, and he is that you can choose to be 4 people. I chose to be the really nerdy white blonde kid, and he's just making really wild comments across everything he sees. These guys never stop talking.
So Derek would love this game.
Yeah, he'd love it. He's like, "Oh, hello, Mr. Ant," and stuff like that. It's really funny.
I mean, Obsidian is good at that, man.
Yeah, they really are. They really are. I didn't really get to do any real combat, though. I got to craft an axe and a torch so I could go into a cave and solve one of the main story things that I needed to do. And I did get to like use my axe to beat up some lawn mites because those are the only things that'll attack you during the day. So far. Probably way more, but so far it's just them, those tiny things that you beat up. So I didn't really get to do anything with a gun, nor do I know if there are any guns in the game. So I have no idea how that works. But the game is so involved that I was like, you know what? This isn't the right time for this. So that's why I installed it. But starting out, it definitely seems like a game that I would want to put some time in at some point, just not right now.
That game's got an audience, man. People who play it do love it.
Yeah, and I understand
setting, man.
Yeah, I totally get it. But that's my quick hit if somebody else wanted to talk about.
Yeah, anything else?
Because everything else I kind of want to dive into a little bit.
I got I picked up Bloodstained Ritual of the Night on the deck, which I'd played back in the day on Switch. And let me just tell you, this game, and I only realize this now, looks so bad on the Switch. Like it looks so
I remember those reviews,
ugly.
yeah.
And this game looks beautiful on the deck, just FYI, and it's marked as playable, so like there was like no tinkering involved, but it's not verified, so threw it right on. Worst thing is like the text is a little small, but like there's voice acting, so it really doesn't matter.
Right.
And I'm really enjoying it. I played this one when it came out originally, but like I just wasn't really feeling it whenever I was first playing it. I think it was because like I knew I was playing like a really ugly game that wasn't really performing well.
Right.
And
by the way, it's only $6.70 on CD keys.
No, wow.
Yeah, that's why I picked that up. Yeah, it was like $7, I think, when I bought it. But so I'm really enjoying that game. And it plays really great on the deck. The art's really good.
I love the art style.
It's very throwback Castlevania. Yeah. Like it basically is Castlevania and everything but name.
Well, it's from the was it Koji Igarashi?
Yeah,
it's the creator
from that guy.
Castlevania.
He broke away to make this game.
And they even did like a retro style
2, I think.
Prequel.
2 of those.
Right? 2,
I think
a prequel.
Two of those, yeah.
I think I played them both. Yeah.
And those are more like 8-bit, right?
This is one of the big wins for like Kickstarter, where like the game like overly got donated, so they hit all of their extended goals. It came out, people like it. And it was a work in progress where people kept on like now it's, I think when it came out, there was some rocky stuff going on with it, but like,
that rings a bell.
Yeah, but like now it's like, it's had a lot of updates, a lot more content, 2 new characters. It's kind of out of control, but
that's cool.
I'm enjoying it. I think the music's really good too. That's also another Castlevania staple. I do have just one other game I just want to throw out there real quick. It's Tales of Berseria. I just wanted to play it on I wanted to play it on the go. I know this is like one of the most beloved entries in the series. I think the combat is. Yeah, it's considered the best story, best characters, and a lot of polls that I saw on like Game Facts and what have you. So I picked this one up because it was like $3 like on CD keys, I think. And I wanted to just play that. Yeah, I don't like the combat too much, but like the older you go back into Tales, like the worse the combat is, you know.
Yeah.
With Arise definitely being like the best feeling that combat's ever been in that series.
Yeah.
So like going back to this was pretty torturous, but like immediately the story was interesting. Immediately the characters are great, you know. So really enjoying that, and you know, because of beating Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I've got a lot of like JRPG, like I gotta beat another one now. I can do this. I'm gonna start one right before October really kicks into gear. Let's do this. You know,
the best time to do it.
So delusional. I'm the most delusional person.
You can do it, Kyle.
But that's all. That's all I'm playing on that. Oh, and that game is unsupported completely. No tinkering. Doesn't drain your battery. Plays really well. So just that trend is ongoing, where it's like, man, if you just want to play a game, just try and load it on that thing. It's probably
just
gonna
give it a whirl.
So.
Yeah.
Cool. I think Jeff had like something more in depth. So the only other thing that I'm actually my wife and I play. So she actually had started it, and then the first few minutes actually made her sad because some dad stuff. Yes. And then she's like, let's play it together. And that's Beacon Pines. I think Jeff, was it last time or the episode before you brought it up?
Yeah, whenever it came out. It came out a couple weeks
ago.
Okay.
Yeah, Jeff talked about it a little bit.
I already uninstalled it. I was like, okay, I'm not going to stick with this one.
All right. Well, you probably should, Jeff, because I know you actually like kind of like these. So you played that other one. What was that other one that's like a book where you open up and there's words popping up? Lost Words. Yeah. So it's similar to that, where like it's basically a choose your own adventure sort of game. So it actually it does actually open up as a book. The narrator's reading the words. It zooms in. The images are all hand drawn. The animals are all anthropomorphic. So obviously, if you don't care about that style, you're gonna kind of like shrug that off and be like, whatever, this is dumb. So my wife and I are actually pretty far into it. We're probably close to the end. This game does not have any business having a story this interesting. Like,
wow.
Holy shit.
That's interesting.
None of the images look like it'd have an interesting story, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, that's kind of, I jumped off because it was a little too cute for me. Like even I have a line.
So that's what grabbed my wife's attention.
Yeah.
But as you get further into the game, it's like it has this, like we're at a part right now where I was like, this almost like is giving me vibes of like Netflix's Dark. Like it has this whole sci-fi element to it that it's like you don't, and again, it's like you choose your own adventure. So obviously, if you make a bad choice, then it's like the end. And the narrator is like, all right, hold on, no, that's not the end. We can't let it end that way. Let's go back. And I forget, you probably explained it. You basically get these charms or whatever. Mm-hmm. When you explore the environment, if you're talking to a person or you interact with something in the background, you get like a charm that's like basically an action.
It becomes a Mad Lib, basically.
Yeah, and so basically you're sort of jumping around this timeline, and it's on a tree, and it almost kind of splits in two different directions. So we're kind of bouncing back and forth because we'll go down one path and like. Basically, you're a kid. You're this little kid, this little deer kid, Luca, and like the story is just like, yeah, like so you died, like you got dragged into this building by this mysterious figure in a hazmat suit, and you're dead. Like they killed you, like, and you're just this child, and they threw a body in a dumpster that had like a name tag on it, and the hand like fell off. Like it's actually very interesting. I'm incredibly surprised.
It is deceptive at the beginning then, because it's like way too cute at the start.
Yes, it's definitely deceptive. And again, the whole like the characters looking like animals. Some people are just completely like, nope, I'm all set with that. If you get past that, and start getting to the parts where it's like, this is taking the dark turn now. It's incredibly interesting. I'm actually enjoying it a lot. So
surprised. Okay.
So not as on the nose dark as like Cult of the Lamb, but it gets there eventually. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, like it's not showing like blood and like.
Cult of the Lamb does like a sacrifice right away.
Right out of the gate.
Yeah.
It's more
sacrificial lamb. Yes.
It's more that the narrator will start reading the words of what's happening, and then it says the end, and it's like it's implying that like like murder just happened, or like these other things that are, and I can't say without spoiling, but like the entire town, like something happens to the entire town, like. Yeah, it's actually very interesting. So shockingly.
Well, good for you for not spoiling it like I did for a game last week. Apparently,
Channing Tatum appeared in a game.
Channing Tatum'd all over it.
Not
Can't help
again!
it.
Oh, God.
Yeah, well,
He must be stopped.
So- Jeff, I know you're trying to get through Bayonetta 1 and 2, so I want to hear what you think about those games. I started Bayonetta 2, and I'm just reminded of its excellence, and I am fully intending to play more of that over this weekend. What do you think about? Because I've already played the first one, beat it, loved it, had started the second, and I just now came back to it, and I'm like, man, these are just some of the best of these types of games. But what do you think about the Bayonetta games?
Yeah, I've never played any of the Bayonetta games before. I'm still on the first one. I'm really not that far in. I think I'm on chapter 4 or something. It's like a couple hours in.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the action it's just so freaking fun. And I don't feel like maybe you dropped, descriptors every now and then. I feel like it was underemphasized how funny this was. Like, these games are so over the top and funny and stupid. Like, it's really entertaining. Like,
I agree. Yeah, they are
some
funny.
of the dialogue and it's just so cheesy and 90s action movie oriented. It's so
bad
good.
accents and bad. It's
real bad puns all the time.
Oh my god!
Yeah. So many innuendos, so many.
Right. But I love the action.
But it's very self-aware. All the characters.
Very. It feels like the writers they like know exactly what they're.
Everybody's in on the joke. Everybody is.
And the action is just so thought out, and the creature designs, especially when you're fighting bigger monsters or whatever you want to call them, it's just I can't imagine having a mind for that. It's just crazy how
you're basically killing like these angels, right? Like these monsters from
heaven.
They're
all like creatures from heaven. Yeah. I'm very impressed with it. I mean, it's living up. I mean, granted, I'm still on the first one. I know the second one has way more praise towards it. Yeah, I didn't think this would be.
The second one just has it's much less repetitive. It's still repetitive. These games always are. Like the character actions games always have a lot of repetitiveness, but it's more creative. It's more, and it's just more. It just looks better. The monster
it's a really good looking game for being a Wii U game or whatever.
Dude, I'm very impressed.
Because that first Bayonetta, I'm playing on PC and deck. It's perfect for obviously a handheld. I know it's a 2010 or 2009 game or something. I don't know.
That sounds about right. Because the second one, I want to say it's 20.
On the older side, but it still looks really good. And they had to have
2009.
They had to have made it, reskin it a little, obviously, for it to come out on PC and look as good as it does.
I think the second one was 2014.
Yep.
Yeah, it feels more recent. I can't wait to get the second one though, because I keep hearing all the praise towards that one. But that first one is really fun.
Yep. I have a feeling if I time this right, I'll finish the second one right as the third one comes out, and that it might, even though my plan, and I've already said this out loud on the podcast, my plan is that'll be like later during the holiday season. But if I play through 2 and I'm just loving it as much as I know that I will, because I never finished that game, I never made it super far into it. I might end up Bayonetta 3 might end up taking priority over a lot of the other heavy hitters.
I feel like they might do the same for me once I get through both of them. And I know they're not long. That's not like they're super short, but they're not super long either. So
right. Yeah.
I could probably get through them if I actually focused on them. But speaking of focus, I did set out to have a goal to beat 2 games in particular that I knew were not long. By the time we podcasted again, and I did it. I beat my backlog Hall of Shame game finally. Beat one.
Yay.
And that was Spec Ops: The Line, baby. And I got the happiest ending you could possibly want out of this game.
There was one of those?
Press X to hug everyone.
I was literally like, there's a moment where you're confronting somebody and you have a choice to shoot him or let him shoot you. And I was literally doing this to the trigger. I was like, come on, shoot him, shoot. Like, he was counting down and I'm like, shoot him.
Just do it.
And the prompt wasn't coming up and I was very confused. There's what a story, dude.
Right?
And I know that it came out during a very relevant time. And I guess it's still relevant to some extent. Where all these war games are coming out, and it was just like all these games were hoorah, get them games, like get some, like the guy in Apocalypse Now just shooting from the chopper, get some, and he's just brutally killing these people. This is such a deconstruction of all of that. Like it's just crazy, like what it means to be a hero, and to like idolize these are human beings. I mean, I know this is a fictional setting. and everything. You could argue there's a sci-fi element because none of the shit's happened in Dubai. So I mean, they're kind of making a fiction based on real science. You know, these sandstorms but these sandstorms are such a high degree that it totally devastated Dubai. But like it's more of a psychoanalysis of like what it takes to be in that environment from a totally different country. Even if you mean well,
it's Heart of Darkness, you know.
Yeah, exactly. It's a Heart of Darkness story, and it's done super, super well. And Nolan North never phones it in, really. I mean, come on, he's just so good in this role.
And the subtitle of the line makes a lot more sense as you play it too. It's just kind of like, oh, got it. We crossed that.
The line, the thing we just crossed.
And the dynamic between him and his buddies the whole time, because for the most part, you're a trio. And how your dynamic changes the more effed up stuff you're forced to do and make decisions on. I love that. That's like my favorite part of the whole game, really, is that you guys are not really bros. You're there to do a job together, and you're not going to respond to certain choices the same way. Like it's really fascinating, man. It's a thinker. That game, it's really good.
Yeah, and for some reason, all the praise is heaped on this game and everything like that. Like, just never could get a sequel or a new one or anything off. It was so weird.
Imagine that game with like
cliffhanger potential.
Imagine that game with like top of the line gameplay. And I'm not saying the gameplay was bad, but imagine it was top of the
It's all right though. Yeah, I liked it.
It was fine.
It was fluid enough for me to go, yeah, it feels good to like reload or shoot somebody in the head. Like it felt pretty good
a modern take on it with Unreal Engine 5, like
right. The SMGs kind of played like ass, so I avoided those entirely. But like pretty much any small handheld that's not a pistol.
And the sequel, you could really see and feel the war crimes like they're real. You know,
dude.
It'd be great.
I murdered 13 kids in my.
We need to get this in VR so we can actually feel our sins. You know.
By the way, we
boarded 12 enemies in my gameplay. What did you do? Like
I meant to say this at the beginning of the show. I meant to say this. Scorn would have been a great VR game. I feel like.
Chase.
Yeah.
As opposed to like what it is. I meant to say that earlier. That like. Oh, that would work well as a VR game, just visually, and then like what the gameplay is.
Scorn would need to come with like Scorn would need to come with like squishy peripherals, like to.
I'm out on that.
So Spec Ops was a 4 or 5 hour experience, and so was Return to Monkey Island, which I also completed. And I really enjoyed my time with that game. I think the ending, some people will perceive, specifically diehard Monkey Island fans, which I am not one of. They will probably be like, well, that's kind of a slap in the face. All this gameplay, and we didn't really get. But I think for what these games are, and the humor that they're trying to do, and how meta they are, it's a perfect ending for that type of game. Like it's just so freaking silly. And it's quite funny. I mean, I mentioned that before. It doesn't stop. And the Act 4 is really where it opens up, and you get like a whole map, and you're able to travel between islands, and sometimes you have to go back and forth and find an item that you realize you didn't know that you needed.
And that's got some optional things you can do too, right? Doesn't that have optional elements?
Yeah, there's an optional mission where you can become a chum, which is you have like a fishing bait hook, whatever, that you present to somebody, and all you're supposed to do is just swap stories about your biggest catch or something. But each person gives you different advice for how you can pepper up your story and make it sound better. And I never found the ending for that. I have no idea what the right person is. Like you can see some characters have the bait hook or whatever like on their clothing or near them.
Okay.
So you can tell who's a member and who's not. So I'm thinking I missed a couple. Because every time I went up to the same person and tried to tell them a different story, and it sounded way more peppered. Like it sounded way more whatever. It had more personality.
Exaggerated.
Yeah, I was like, I nailed it. And then the guy goes, "Man, you could still use some work." And I'm like, "Who the hell else do I need to talk to?" So I don't know. There were some things I wasn't able to resolve, but I resolved the main quest. That's what matters. And and they have a hint book. So if you feel like you're kind of dumb for puzzle games, just go into the hint book, and it'll tell you that it'll try to be mysterious about it and cute about some of it. And then eventually, if you hit the button the last time, it goes, just go do this. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Like it's come on, dude. I gave you the answer. It was right there. But yeah, it's a puzzle game that's really meant for anybody of any age to beat it and enjoy it. I mean, it's a good ride. Like I said, it's not long. Remember how I paid for it? Was it on CD keys? It had to have been on CD keys. But yeah, I tried it on deck first. It's a battery drainer, and I didn't feel like tinkering, so I uninstalled it there and played it on PC.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's great with a controller. It's supposed to be a point-and-click game when you're on keyboard and mouse, much like their old games are. But with a controller, you're just walking around, and I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah,
this is how you play these games. It's how you're supposed to.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's
there you go. And that's
not top 10 of the year good, but good.
It's interesting as you listen to all the games that we're playing, whether they're new this week or just stuff we're circling back to. Like, and I'm not saying that none of us will still be hooked by some other game. Like Bayonetta, for example, might keep some of us occupied as these new games launch. But I feel like when we reconvene next week, our chats are going to be different. There's going to be a lot less, hey, I'm diddling these 7 games, and a lot more dude. I am playing these 2 huge games.
If I'm not done with Plague Tale by the next time we talk, I will be a little disappointed in myself.
Yeah.
Because I'll be on PTO and like...
Yep. Yeah,
and there will be so many games coming out that I just want to be done with that game.
Yep. I feel like that one's gonna hit hard and hit really well. And then of course there's more later next week. Between now and next Friday. It might be a week where we record on a Saturday to give us extra time with the games.
And I was telling Kyle that in our separate chat again, where I talk crap about everybody.
Yes, sure.
I said, hey, doesn't Tim suck? And then I said, there's like 5 movies coming out next week that I want to see in theaters. So I bought a ticket for like every day that I have off.
Beautiful.
Oh, you watch movies? Oh, I wasn't aware.
Oh yeah, Jeff movies.
Well, guys, the peak of DC is coming out next week. It's Black Adam. I mean, we have to see that movie.
Oh man.
So do you think what he said was referring to who everyone thinks it is?
We're not talking about that because it's obvious. I
could tell you if you wanted to know.
Footage leaked is all I'm saying.
Speaking of watching stuff, I'm gonna take you guys on a real quick roller coaster ride of positive and negative takes. So some of these some of these might annoy you, and I'm sorry, but some of them you might totally agree with. So I'm gonna go like positive and then a little negative. So bear with me. I am caught up. Oh no, I'm still 2 episodes behind, but very excited to catch up on Andor. And I freaking love that show. I love the grittiness. I love the characters, and I know that the recent episode is just being heralded by everyone. And Kyle, you were talking about how good it is. So Andor, real positive. You guys agree, right? Andor is just crushing it.
God,
breathtaking episode.
That's what I've heard. Good. But even overall as a show, I feel
I
feel like it's very
I'm
good.
loving it. Yeah.
There's also a character named Tim with 2 M's. I had subtitles on.
Oh, that's right. That's why you said that. Okay. Forgot about that.
So it's really positive. On the negative side, I couldn't even get through the first episode of Miss Marvel. I thought it was so cringy. Now I might try it again because you guys have recommended it and you all loved it. I really hated it, but that's just me. And maybe I was in a bad mood. I should watch it with my teenage kids or something. Like I don't
think I liked the first episode either, though. If I remember.
Tim, correctly. Usually sitting in front of
that show grew on me as I kept on watching it.
No, I was very open. Like, all right, I'm gonna get into this. I know it's gonna be like teenage, kind of cheesy, but like I just thought the acting and writing. I was just like, this is bad. I just kept feeling this is bad, and I think maybe I just need to chill out, let it become whatever. Because I've heard that as it goes on, and by the end, it's got some great moments, and I want to see the good moments. But boy, I was not feeling it. And I juxtaposed that to Midnight Club, which I know at least Jeff watched, which has teenage actors. Kyle too, okay, which has teenage actors. I'm on episode 2, amazingly written and acted. So I think it's okay to look at Miss Marvel and be like,
crazy to me because the actress who plays Kamala Khan is so effing good in that role. Like it's just crazy to me. I don't know what you're talking about with the acting. I really don't.
She might be great.
She's endearing.
I think she might be great, but if you just watch that opening without already loving it, just like I watched it without hating it or loving it, I just kind of watched it and I was like, this just feels real bad. But I don't know. But hey, that's just, I told you, some of these personal takes, the negativity might make you a little. I'm sorry. I'm not saying
I don't like Miss Marvel enough to defend it. So
okay, all right.
I liked it fine, but yeah, you didn't like it. Whatever.
Yeah, I want to catch up on all the Marvel stuff. So I'll end up watching it through. But I was just like, I'm just feeling.
I think she's definitely the main strong, like she's like the main element and like far beyond I think most of everything else in the show. Like that kid that shows up later that's kind of like doing some stuff with
the guy
it.
with the hood and the
Yeah, like
Yeah,
that stuff was lame to me. I was like, who even is this schmuck? Like what even is this?
Yeah.
Like I didn't care, but
he was trying a little hard. Yeah.
She was super endearing. I like her as that character, and if
Yeah.
they once they bring her into the movies and like the whole overarching thing, I think that'll kind of grow. So.
I think she's got a real Haley Steinfeld quality about her, which is perfect because she's already in the MCU. But like, where she's just like, it's just easy for her to be playing a teenager, and I don't know, just be charismatic, and I don't know.
Right.
I think the kind of like the cheesiness of it wasn't hitting in the right way for me just when I was watching it compared to like Cobra Kai, which is so cheesy, it's so corny, but it hits in the right ways for me for whatever reason.
Yeah, it hits in the way that
I don't know why.
You go, oh, the writers are aware of this.
Yeah.
Like they know how corny.
And none of those actors are going to win awards for Cobra Kai. So don't get me wrong.
You don't know that.
There are moments where that
Terry Silver's going to buy his
girl who's mean all the time, like she might win something.
Being a bitch.
I understand that, but my expectations for each are different. So
yeah,
it is what it is. But back to positive.
Because Miss Marvel isn't really fully aware of some of the things that it's writing. You know, I mean, right. I think it's just trying to appeal to a certain audience. You could be totally right on that.
I just think for me as an adult man watching it alone, I had a moment where I was like, this is just too like early days of like CWWB for me, and maybe I just need to kind of push through that stuff to get to the good Marvel overarching, story elements that are more something that I'm into, and that's fine. But Midnight Club, I thought so far, and you guys saw all the way to the end. So far, amazing. I'm really digging Midnight Club so far.
It's really good, and it's like, not that it's a huge departure for Flanagan, but the way that they're telling the story feels like a departure for him, because this is not Midnight Mass. I mean, at least to me, that was like my favorite show of whatever year it came out.
That was last year. I loved
last year, and it's like the best.
Yeah, it's probably my favorite show, and I watch way too much TV, similar to movies. So this one I already had high hopes on. High hopes, Derek's favorite band. And
what?
He went to see him live.
Yeah, he did go see them live. I'm just saying.
Is that Creed?
No, that's Panic at the Disco.
But
really?
Yeah, he saw them live. I don't know how that happened.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What? Listen, I actually don't mind Panic at the Disco, but that's really weird. Like,
yeah, I know. I'm just saying he saw them live. It's his favorite band. But I don't know how I got off track. But
wait, by the way, real quick, Derek music is a lot of times the stuff that they'll have Dwight listening to in his car on The Office.
Yes.
Or it's stuff that Stingray from Cobra Kai has blasting. Like,
yeah, that's right too. You nailed both of those.
So perfect. Anyway. He would totally be in Cobra Kai if it were real.
100%. Oh my gosh.
Derek would be the sweep the leg guy. Sweep the fucking leg. Do it.
Sweep it. Do it.
Oh my gosh.
It's alpha, bro.
But Midnight Club, the pacing feels different for a Mike Flanagan show, because in between the story of finding out all the mysteries in the facility that they're in, all these terminally sick kids are staying in like a hospital, and there's some secret stuff going on there that they're trying to.
The whole setup, I was gonna say, is very
exactly
very intriguing.
But in between that, they're telling these very intricate and like very interesting stories to each other at midnight, which has been a tradition at that facility.
That's why it's the Midnight Club, right? They meet after hours to like try to spook each other with these stories.
Yeah. Right, and that club was established years ago, and they've just been keeping on the tradition. And the stories
is this a sequel to Breakfast Club?
God,
yes.
Wouldn't that be something?
It is.
Sorry.
Tape this guy's butt cheeks together. Anyway, that's all I remember from that movie. No, I remember way more. I love that movie to pieces. But
sorry, continue.
But that being Emilio Estevez's character's trauma, like, sorry. They taped his butt cheeks together in a little.
I don't remember that at all.
That was why he was in detention. Yeah.
Good old Emilio.
Anyway, Midnight Club's really good. It's not a typical Mike Flanagan thing where it's like a mini series. To me, it comes off like it's they're gearing up to a season 2. Like,
I think that
right?
there are so many plot threads unfinished, and there has to be a season 2. Yeah,
and I feel like the fact that they
whereas
cast
Midnight Mass really wrapped things
Midnight
up.
Mass,
nicely.
there's no way that would ever have more. Like that was so clean.
And all the haunting on whatever shows.
Those are all one and dones.
They were done. So this one feels like especially helps that they cast relatively unknowns in the lead roles. That you feel like there's a chance they could all come back. Well, with some exceptions because of the whole terminal illness thing.
Actually, I wanted to ask. So they're telling stories, like you're saying. Is there connections of these stories to the other things?
They're kind of like the stories almost act like them processing their traumas a little bit. So like a little pieces of their actual life make it into the story.
Yeah.
But you don't really know what you do as the show goes on. You'll realize what the truth was and kind of what was bended and stuff like that. But yeah, the stories are kind of about how they got to where they were loosely, and then added on with some thematic spooks.
I've only seen the first episode and a half. I don't think there's any like winks and nudges to other Flanagan verse stuff, but I could be
that's what I was getting at.
Like, I mean, I think Netflix really likes the term Flanagan verse, but I don't think there's anything that says
they haven't been connected so far.
Nothing has been connected yet.
The only thing that's connected is you see a lot of the same actors, but none of them are the same characters.
Sure.
And some actors you see show up, I feel like Flanagan is deliberately casting them in a role, and you're like, oh, you should, that character should not talk to that person. Like, like when you see for example, they cast the actor that played Bev in Midnight Mass, who ended up being the crazy freaking nun or whatever.
She was so good.
She's so good. She shows up in Midnight Club, and I'm like, you better run.
Immediately, I was like, she's like, because like she did it so well in the last show,
And Flanagan is deliberately doing that.
Yeah, I think
he knows the audience is going to see her and go, don't trust her, like immediately. So there's an element of like brilliance there, I think. But there's a lot of guest stars and stuff that show up that like example, Jack and Wendy Torrance from Dr. Sleep show up in episode 8 as a couple. Totally different couple, obviously. They're not. Bash your brains in. He's not doing any of that. Bash your brains in. He's not doing any of that, but like they play like a hitchhiking couple or whatever. That episode is so freaking powerful too, man.
There's some of the
I was getting real weepy at work.
Some of the anthology episode or anthology stories, or the stories in the story, are really high concept and good. It's like, oh, that was actually a pretty good story they just told.
And they do a good job of setting it up with emotion right from the jump. You meet this girl, you kind of attach to her right away because she's very likable and she's got a bright future ahead of her, and then gets this tragic news of being incredibly sick. And you kind of learn over time, like, is this an adopted dad? Is this a stepdad? But he's a foster dad named Tim, by the way. So,
wait, hold up.
Hold on a minute, dude.
Hold up.
But yeah, they do a good job. A lot of times in any kind of like horror movie or show, they just kind of like, they barely even try to connect to characters before they start killing them off. But before they start doing horrible things to them. But in this, I feel like they did a good job. Hey, this is gonna be a spooky show, but we want you to care a lot before you.
There's episode 7 followed by episode 8 was like was so cruel from a writing perspective, because there are some pretty severe gut punches in both.
It was a back-to-back whammy. Those are definitely some good episodes.
Man,
it's
good though. It's really good.
I really like Mike Flanagan. Has something happened in his life where this dude's obsessed about death and the concept of death and viewing death from different perspectives, whether it be like a ghost story or vampires, which is all about evading death, or everlasting life, getting away from death, and now this, which is all about terminally ill kids and facing death and
at a young age,
just coming to terms with it and stuff like that. And it's just like something happened to this poor guy where he's obsessed with exploring death.
It's the concept,
but it's so interesting.
It's like they're trying to grasp with their own mortality while they don't even know who they are yet as people.
Yeah, so they didn't even get to become like a person.
So there's like an added layer of tragedy to it because of that. Like it's.
And it makes sense though if you think about what makes spooky stuff spooky. It's just a creative and sudden ways for someone's life to end as possible. Like that's kind of what makes scary stuff scary, is death happening unexpectedly and tragically. That's usually what it means.
Like being thrown down a staircase,
3 flights of stairs. Yeah. Like
by
an
a door,
8-year-old.
by a door being kicked
by a
open.
door being opened in your face. Yeah.
Jeez.
So I mean, so it makes sense, but yeah, you're right. He's
Ridiculous.
exploring like the intricacies of it and like the slow build to it if you're really sick in this particular case. So it's just very, very interesting. He clearly knows how to create really interesting characters and overall stories. So I'm a big
and to get these types of performances out of a bunch of nobody kids, like that's pretty good. Because I was worried immediately. I'm like, oh, a show about kids, like kids can't act.
Right.
That's where my mind goes immediately every time, and I was like, "Oh, okay. Most of these people are good. Some of them struggle a little bit, but like most of them hold it together."
One of them, Anya, he found her on TikTok.
Oh,
She's
really?
Not even an actor. Yeah.
The wheelchair girl.
The wheelchair girl. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, she's a
Wow.
real life.
She's a firecracker, man. Yeah.
She's a lower leg amputee in real life, and she just made TikToks that went viral, and he found her on there. She's since deleted her account. But yeah, that's where he found. She's not even an actor, so it's just crazy.
She's great.
The ways that he found these people that I would argue some of them are not actors, and he got something special out of them. Man, some of them are just. Anya's a very memorable character.
She's very memorable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really digging
Because
that
of the
one.
wheelchair.
God damn, what?
Oh gosh, man, that was almost
I'm terrible.
All right, so
Hold
we're going positive, negative, positive, negative. The only other negative, and it's the same thing with Miss Marvel. I need to actually just like let me just watch the show from start to finish because I want to see everything that happens. I really didn't like the first episode of She-Hulk very much. I'm sorry, I just didn't.
Jeff.
That doesn't mean it's a bad show. It just I didn't like it. I really hated her rant. I was watching it like, did the writers not see any of the previous Marvel stuff that Hulk went through? Like for her to rant at him and for that to be like a heroic moment, that just really annoyed me. So I found myself annoyed by her character, and even though I'm supposed to like her, and so it wasn't poorly acted. It wasn't like I just felt like you're trying to make her a winning character in the mind of viewers, and I found her to be actually pretty unlikable. But maybe that changes over time. Maybe that's part of her arc as she learns a lesson through this. But it felt like they were trying to make that a heroic moment, and I found it to be pretty annoying. So that's my other dip down. It's to slightly negative. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. I just didn't like it.
Tim, you bad.
I'm bad. By the way,
you bad.
this hat before anyone gets mad at me for not liking stuff that you like, I'm sorry. But this hat is actually, it was a birthday present because my 3-year-old will say this. She says "you bats." My wife had this hat made. She says it to me all the time. Doesn't matter what I do.
Daddy,
like,
you bad.
Yeah, she will. She'll be like, "You bad, Dad," and I'm like, "No, I'm not." She goes, "You nice, you nice." I'm like,
thanks.
But yeah, she'll be like, "You bad." That's her thing.
But I think Kyle and I felt pretty similar about the first episode of She-Hulk, where we were like, "Man, that was funnier than I expected," and the CG didn't look as bad as the trailers made it look. Like
it did have funny moments. I got to give it credit. It was like, oh, this is funny. Yeah.
And then it just gets. Every episode just gets better, and
not the CG. The CG doesn't get better.
No,
but
CG...
the show does get better.
But they,
the CG actually might get worse, to be honest.
They are overworked.
So if I could just make a quick case though, like I don't like when you set up a character to be, you're trying to make them a little bit of a victim, like they've been through really hard times and they've got it tougher than you do, and here's why. Okay. But then when you show them like in a work environment, she's clearly the one in charge. Like she gets her way. She's bullheaded and like she kind of wins at work too. So then when she does that rant, it didn't make any sense to me. I think that's where I was coming from. I was like, how are you gonna like if she would have lost at work and then rants about that, then I'm like, I'm more on her side. I feel unsympathetic.
And also her. We've gotten all the way back
she was fired,
to Incredible
right?
Hulk.
I thought she was in a bad place in that first episode. She was fired from her job.
I could be misremembering.
Oh, I think that's the second episode, so spoilers on that, I guess.
But like
I'm saying is there was an interaction. If you watch the first episode, not that you'll want to go back and rewatch it, but whatever. If you go back and rewatch it, she in the first episode, if I remember correctly, I could be totally misremembering this. She dominates at work. Like there's a man and female in the picture. The man says something, she just totally brushes him off, and he loses, and she wins, and the other girl's like, "You go, girl," type of a reaction because she's so awesome. And then later she's ranting to Bruce about how hard she has it, about how no one respects her, and men are always trying to explain her job. So as I'm listening, I think those are the parts that made her, to me personally, a little less likable than I think they wanted her to be. I think they want her to be a likable, sympathetic character, and I don't think they succeeded. But
that's what's tricky with these shows. They're just like throwing these shows at us that are split into multiple parts, right? But it's like we've had all of, and like you're saying, kind of jumping to that, like, oh, life is hard because I'm a woman, but we've seen like this whole arc with Bruce all the way back to Incredible Hulk of what he's literally gone through, and then
like people in his life actually dying a lot, right?
Yeah, and all the way fast forwarding to the glove and the snap and everything, and and like all of the hardships that he's had to go through. So it's not about like one being more than the other or anything, but like you're saying, like, yeah, she's just kind of coming out of nowhere, being like, oh, I've dealt with this and all that, and maybe it just comes across as too aggressive.
I don't think they were doing trauma Olympics. I thought she was just explaining why she was able to control her anger, whereas he struggled at the beginning.
Yeah.
I felt like that's how the scene played to me. It didn't come off to me
that's fair.
Well, let me tell you how hard it's been for me compared to you.
And that's how I read
that
it.
Way to me.
I might have misread it. Yeah, I might have misread. I think I want to sympathize with her as a character, as a human being, regardless of if she was a dude or a girl or somewhere in between. And I feel like they really want us to be like, here's why she's special, the vagina. And it's like, okay, make her an important character outside of that. And I feel like
so I didn't
That's all.
There's a moment that I hated in the premiere, and it was I think it was her putting her shoes back on at the end, and I was like, and then the beat drop. It was like some horrible.
I've seen the gifs. Yeah, I've seen the gifs.
I was like, oh my god, this is so cringe. And then
CGI is really good in that scene, right?
And then there's a moment that happens in the mid-credit scene that made me laugh so hard I forgot why I was mad. So yeah, whatever.
You know, I was actually mentioning this to another friend who loves Marvel stuff, and his encouragement to me, he was like, "Hey, I get it, man. I get it. Like they could have done a better. His take was they could have done a better job at making her sympathetic, especially at the beginning, because he loves the show." So
yeah,
just so you guys know, like I've talked to other folks who really love the show, but he said
it was a journey to loving the show.
Yeah,
it wasn't an immediate love.
He said just watch the whole thing, because if you're a fan of Marvel, you'll be a fan of the show when it's all said and done. Allow her story arc to take place, because we also talked about Obi-Wan when that show first came out, and I was like, I'm not sure I love what they're doing at the beginning. When that show wrapped, I was like, I loved this arc that they did in Obi-Wan. I loved it. So he was like, just treat it the same way, man. Just let it be a whole story, and also let it be funny. Like, let it be lighthearted. And if they miss some beats where they could have maybe made her more sympathetic, because I was complaining about her not being very sympathetic. He was like, let that stuff slide and just kind of let her character play out. And I was like, all right, fine. So like,
by the way, I'm going to tell you this right now.
Yeah.
You're going to have to let the Megan Thee Stallion thing go.
Yeah,
I know that,
and all your like vagina, like rah pro women stuff. That's all staying. So like you gotta let that shit go too.
That's all staying. That's all staying.
It is called She-Hulk. You know, it's it's gonna be.
But no, there's a moment in Megan.
There's
a moment involving Megan Thee Stallion that made the whole internet, not the whole, but a lot of people very loudly mad. And I'll just. I don't think you're going to be
not
loudly
Lizzo
mad about
playing
it.
Like a crystal flute mad, but mad, you know. So.
No, you don't have to dance around it. Like that was so much on the. I saw that meme instantly.
Oh, you saw that? Okay.
Oh yeah, and I know that was like a credits sequence. Like
it wasn't a big deal to me at all. Like because it was a mid-credits thing.
It's literally there for the joke.
And by the way, and for Kyle and for everyone else watching, I don't have a problem with them saying like this. One of the characteristics that she has to fight through is the fact that she's a woman in a man's world. Like. Hit that hard if you need to, like hit that point hard, but that alone isn't enough to make her a sympathetic character. You have to do more. Is all I was getting at.
They show more of what she goes through as the show goes on.
Okay,
so
cool.
Maybe her explanation just came on prematurely in the show.
And hey, there's a reason why it's a series and not just one episode and they were done. So
right.
You have to. I think we all do this, and you guys probably do it too. You'll like. I know some of you, Jeff, you especially. You watched like 1 or 2 episodes of the Terminal, or maybe Terminal Lists. Maybe you ended up watching more than that.
I still need to watch more.
That's a good example where I would be like, hey, listen, that show actually by the time it wraps, I thought it was a really excellent show, even though it really struggles to get off the ground in the first couple episodes.
Okay.
And so this might be one of those things where it's like, hey, She-Hulk didn't get off the ground for me personally right away, but. Over time it did. So anyway, I
felt the same actually about Jack Ryan, where it started really slow. For
me too.
And then by episode 7, I was like, holy shit, this show is really good. Like, I was just like, I can't stop watching now. Like,
I went from I don't want to watch this anymore to I think John Krasinski might be my favorite action character, or
Right.
actor right now. So
yeah.
Dude, he was
And then
fantastic in
season 2 starts right away with a tragedy that makes me go, I gotta keep watching this show.
Yeah.
It's really good.
what was that Michael Bay movie?
Which one?
30
13 hours.
14, yeah. That was fantastic. I really
that
liked
was
that one.
good. Ambulance is hot trash, but whatever. People love that movie.
13 hours might be Michael Bay's best movie.
The Rock. The
I don't
Rock
know,
has
man.
something to say to you.
Oh,
man.
The Rock.
Uh,
Yeah, that's
The
right.
Rock has something
No,
to
you
say
see,
about that.
it's got Nicolas Cage in it, so no, it's
All right,
not.
but it's up there. It's one of his better recent movies, that's for sure. Okay. Go ahead.
So the other show I wanted to mention, and then we'll talk about this. This is a show on Peacock, and it is actually really good. It's called A Friend of the Family, and it's there's a documentary on Netflix actually about this true story.
It's got
called-
balding Colin Hanks in this show.
Does yeah, he's in there. Anna Paquin's in this. Jake Lacey, who has appeared in many things, you'll recognize him when you see him.
He's Pete from The Office.
Yes. So I think the documentary on Netflix was called Abducted in Plain Sight, and it was about this woman in the 70s who, at age 12, she was abducted by her neighbor. And then I don't even think he served jail time. I think it was like, well, this is your first offense, and the family is not really coming down on you hard enough. So slap on the wrist. And then it was a few years later he abducted her again. So that's the story of the show. And there's actually more involved with him getting sexual with her parents too. Like there's it's a crazy freaking story.
Wow.
So it's a wild ride, dude.
Jeez.
Yeah, and him being played by Jake Lacey, who is a very unnassuming person.
Yeah.
He's got so much charisma.
He's very kind of vanilla
makes
looking.
him even more
Yeah.
menacing. Like it makes
Jeez.
like it's kind of wild.
All right.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. It's not done yet, but it's like 5 episodes are out, so there's a lot out there now, and it should end by episode 8 or 9 or something.
Okay.
But it's really good so far. But yeah, Rings of Power, baby. We
Just
hit the
completed.
finale.
Yeah.
We hit the finale. I think Kyle just finished it a couple hours ago, right?
Yeah.
I watched it like at 11 p.m. last night.
Like right when it hit Prime.
I scared the
basically.
shit out of my dog because the opening of the finale aloud in my apartment made me go, motherfucker. Kyle
Your
knows what I'm
dog
talking
just
about.
instantly pooped.
And he was like, oh, he's mad. And I was like actually happy. Like I was like,
Yeah.
oh, motherfucker. Like I was like hyped by
The dog's like,
opening
me?
of the finale.
What?
It was just something that happened that whatever. There are things that happen throughout the season that make you guess certain things, and then you get something of an answer in the very beginning of the episode. So it just made me super hyped.
That's
But
cool.
that's not the only thing that happened in the finale. So like there are actually 2 more moments in the episode that made me go, oh my God. Like it's just it was such a good finale, and it just delivers. As Kyle said in his message to me, there were definitely lords and there were definitely rings in that episode.
Yeah, very much. so.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
let me tell you, they're building. That's the thing. They're building up to the lords and the rings. So
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
the fact that there are lords and rings in the finale is
Wait,
Right.
guys, is there power?
we haven't seen it.
Yeah. I haven't
We
seen
haven't
it yet, but there's
Hmm.
dormant power for sure.
There's
Is there
power.
a ring, like a main ring?
Not quite yet.
Not yet.
Mhm.
Because you had to build. Remember, because Sauron
There's
wanted
17
the
other
ring,
rings they build first. Yeah.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Sauron wanted the ring to rule them all because they
Right.
built 3 rings
Right.
Right.
to fight Sauron. So
Yes.
we're not there yet, but we are at the 3 rings.
Big fans of jewelry.
They love their
So,
jewelry on Middle Earth.
The
yeah.
build, man. I know people have been kind of lukewarm on the build to the finale, but I've enjoyed the ride. I think Kyle has too.
I've liked it a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Some episodes are better than others, for sure. I think you might recognize that mountain. I think the episode involving that mountain was really good. And then the episode following that was really good, and then the finale happened after that. Like, I mean,
Right. I thought it was a real strong 3 episodes there at the end.
for sure.
It's a wind up at the beginning, so people just have to kind of like.
Yeah, just kind of
People,
be patient.
I
with
gotta
it,
be
man.
like, man, there's a lot of talking. I'm like, there was in Lord of the Rings too. They talked for like
Yeah.
90% of those movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing is people were like, well, and the writing and the way they talked this movie sucks. I'm like, that's how they talked in the movies that we all like, though. like
Dude.
that fantasy jargon, weird, you know, like
Right.
people don't talk
Yeah.
like
I
this.
mean,
The elves are
Elven-
talking ethereally and stuff like that. You know, I'm like,
Yeah, they
that's
speak Elvish. Like,
that's kind of what's the whole thing's about, man.
Yeah.
You know, so I've a lot of the criticism.
the elves aren't all white people, so
Oh
you
yeah,
know.
there's a lot of that going on, and there's just a lot of just like, well, it's not real Tolkien because they were only allowed to use notes and not real text, you know, and it's like, you guys just who cares? You know what else wasn't exactly like the books? The movies that you like.
Right.
So
Right.
you don't
Like,
even
no,
know
Tolkien
that,
directed
you don't
those.
even know that Gandalf's a god in those movies. Like you have to read the books
Are
to
you-
know that.
Kyle, I always forget this detail, and I'm sorry. Are you a book guy? Did you read the books?
No.
No.
I don't
Okay.
read, yeah.
So my
I don't read.
No,
I don't even know what
I grew up
Tim's
reading
hat
like
says.
I grew up reading like Star Wars books and other fantasy books like Dark Elf
Yeah.
and stuff like that, but never Lord of the
Gotcha.
Rings.
Yeah.
So
I
me
never-
neither. My love for this series stems only from the original trilogy, really.
Right.
And
yes.
I hope that all these
Kills
people
you
are
and lukewarm
complaining.
on it,
I
no.
hope you read the Silmarillion. That's why you're like, you know, you read that weird, dumb encyclopedia.
Yeah.
That's not a fun read. It isn't, because
Yeah,
I've
it's
seen
just an
it. Like
encyclopedia.
it looks like some crazy person's like notes. Like it's
So Tolkien
and like
was
so
a
everyone's just like, oh, it's not the Silmarillion's not in this. I'm like, did you read an encyclopedia? Like, why are you so mad about this?
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy
Yeah.
to me.
If there's a character, by the way, if there is a character in the show that the name doesn't sound familiar to you, just wait.
Yeah.
Just wait. That's all I'll say. Or if they don't have a name yet, just wait.
I don't want to wait.
wait.
I don't want to
I'm
wait.
just saying, if Tom Bombadil doesn't show up soon, I'm quitting the show.
I'm out.
You know? No.
If Legolas doesn't
Billy
show up
Baggins
way
is
too
not
early,
showing-
I'm out.
Where's Billy
Yeah,
Baggins?
I've
Very
seen the
expensive looking
first-
show. Very cool.
Oh yeah, this
been
is.
saying.
I mean,
Yeah.
every scenic shot like this, I'm like, this is
Gorgeous.
a very expensive show.
Well, they
And
already
it-
said they're starting filming of season 2, but we're not going to get it for years. Like,
Probably
Yeah,
not.
and they
Yeah.
said that
Yeah.
season 2 is going to be more canonical. So
Mm.
I don't know what that means. I don't know if there was a deal with the estate where they're able to use maybe more notes or something like that. But they said that season 2 they're going to stick closer to canon,
Huh.
whatever that means.
Well, I mean, I guess
Okay.
given the way the finale.
Well, we're
happened-
building up towards something that obviously the prequel or the very first scene in Lord of the Rings, you know, like that big battle or whatever.
mm.
That's the battle
Yeah.
that ends the Second Age, and this is what we're building up towards. We're building up towards that battle.
Yeah.
So at some point,
Okay.
Yeah,
it
like
has to
how,
get
how
has to-
Galadriel is she's narrating the story, right? And she's like,
yeah, at the very beginning, and
what happened.
Elrond's there, like at the battle,
Isildur,
and
Come Under the
Isildur and her
Ring, yada,
his
yada.
father, all
Yeah.
that stuff. Yeah.
yeah, so
All
we're
those
building up to
characters are
that.
here. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're building up towards. So it has to get on that track at some point. So it makes sense, you know. But like,
Yeah.
so probably by the time like season 3 or 4 comes out, like they're probably using a lot of jargon and words that are directly lifted from like Lord of the Rings, even though there already is that stuff. It's just I know there's a lot of things that are off limits, you know, kind of like
Mm.
Marvel not being able to say mutants type of agreements and stuff like that for a long
Right.
time. So.
Well, I mean, they can say it now, but you know,
Well, I can't say it now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're-
they
they're throwing that out.
bought their way out of that problem.
they're throwing that out directly to the camera. They're looking at the camera going,
You,
A little wink, wink, yeah. A little wink, wink.
It's kind of like, did you know they did a Clarice show and they couldn't say the word Hannibal? They couldn't even reference Hannibal Lecter.
yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't know
Right.
they couldn't say him.
Yeah,
That's
No,
why I
know
didn't
that.
watch it. I go, I'm not watching that then.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't get the rights to Hannibal
Oh
itself.
my.
They only got Clarice, so she's solving like a bunch of other crimes unrelated.
And that's
to
all.
it.
That's also why Hannibal the show did the Red Dragon last, because they couldn't get the rights to that for the longest time, right? And then they
Yeah.
finally did, and then they're like, oh, well, we can do the prequel now. I'm like, well, y'all already did
I
You
do
already
think
did.
all the sequels, so
of all the Hannibal stuff I've seen on screen, I do think Red Dragon, that movie with Edward Norton and Ray Fiennes, might be my favorite
So good.
of all
I
of
mean,
them.
is there ever a time that Ray Fiennes is cast as bad guy and does not deliver?
Oh,
I mean,
right, yeah.
Mm,
Even in a
No.
small movie like In Bruges, he kills it.
he's killed.
He's
Yeah,
great in
I'm
that.
sorry
such
for
a-
Yeah.
calling you an inanimate
such-
object.
yeah.
Like he's just so pompous.
Terrible as Voldemort, though. Terrible as Voldemort.
How dare you, sir?
unmemorable.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, R.I.P. Hagrid, right? I mean, that's
Yeah, yeah.
who lived
R.I.P. Hagrid.
die.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
R.I.P.
Robbie
Hagrid, bro.
Coltrane. Yep.
A legend in what's it called?
Goldeneye too, right?
Yeah, Goldeneye. Yeah, that's what I know.
Yeah.
Bro.
He was like the best friend or whatever.
D-
of-
Dimitriov
He's the
or something.
Russian. Yeah, he's the Russian contact or whatever.
Yes, yeah, he's in both
Goldeneye.
Goldeneye and World Is Not Enough. Yeah, I remember that because he was in the games too for that came out
Yeah.
He was.
for a little bit.
All right, guys.
But
Well,
yeah,
this is
Lord of the Rings: Rings of Power is great to us, and that doesn't seem to be a popular opinion, I guess, but we love it.
We're getting
Dude,
more. So I don't care.
I've seen
Yeah, exactly.
the first 2 episodes. I was waiting till the rest of it came out, which it just recently aired the final episode. So I'm gonna watch through the rest of it.
It's a good binge.
So far,
Yes.
and I probably will rewatch those first 2 now that you mentioned that too. Like I think I'll just do the whole thing. But I personally found it to be like instantly I'm right back in this magical place that I was with the movies. All 6 of the movies that have come out. So like
It feels
I found
special, you know.
I found the characters and the environments and the writing. I found all of it to be like right what I expected, and it took me right back in. So I don't know. I think a lot of people wanted to hate it already, and then you could probably make an argument about some of the stuff I criticized tonight. Well, you wanted to hate it, all right? Maybe, but I try not to do that when I watch stuff, and I think
most people do, you know, but sometimes.
Yeah, I don't want to hate Halloween Ends.
Yeah.
I really didn't. I wanted more kills.
But do you think
And
with
just,
this
like-
particular, there are people who already were mad about whatever thing about Lord of the Rings and
I
started
think people
the
get
show?
attached to
Yes.
certain things.
They
you
were.
know,
I think
for
there
sure.
were a good number of people who were already like, I'm mad about the way this is being made or the way.
Yeah.
There was nothing that anybody was gonna say to ever. Change
Well, I
their
mean,
mind.
I feel like there's already a consensus among some people. Some of them are in our group, and I do like talking to them. So I'm not bashing what they're saying, but they already say stuff about Marvel being too woke. The shows and movies specifically, I'm talking about, not comics.
Oh yeah.
But some of them are talking about comics too. But like that means to me that anything that comes out by Marvel, they automatically hate it because they assume it's going to have woke stuff in it. Some of them they might be right. Sometimes they're usually off. I say
And it's
just
also
watch
kind
the
of
thing and find
there's
out.
also kind of unfair because yeah, there might be some times when something is really on the nose and eye rolly. Sure, that's
Yeah.
gonna happen. Yep.
Yeah.
But to write all of it off, I think is unfair.
Yeah,
There's
a
so much good
moment
stuff.
that is, you know, it's one ingredient of like a greater, item.
Right.
So it's
Like the
just
two
infringing-
Avengers, Infinity War and Endgame, are just some of my favorite Marvel things I've ever seen on any screen. And sure, when all the girls go marching together on the battlefield, I cringe hard at that moment
because of how
but-
powerful it was, right?
because it hit me hard. It hit me hard.
It was so brave and stunning. It was so brave and stunning.
And but whatever, man. Those movies freaking rule. So like, don't
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So,
right.
don't
I
let
su-
that
I
kind of
was-
thing.
Suddenly hate the whole thing now.
Right.
Yeah. So whatever. I don't think
Yeah,
you
whatever.
need to write it all off. It is what it is. Hey, overall, there's so much good stuff to watch and to play, and there's about to be a lot more good stuff to play. Very.
Oh my
excited.
gosh. And
So-
we're about to
I'll
hit
just
award
pause.
season for movies too. So you're about to hear
Award
me
season,
talking about
yeah.
a whole bunch of pretentious crap. I'm sure you're
Can't-
very excited.
Wait.
I
Can't wait.
love pretentious crap. It's my favorite kind of crap.
My least favorite time of the year for movies. So.
Kyle's like, great.
Whatever, man. You like
Yeah,
Spielberg and stuff.
I do, but you know what? I also like dumb stuff like David Harbour playing Santa Claus shooting a bunch of people.
Yes!
Oh my
That's
gosh.
that's my kind of movie. You know?
I
Wasn't that
can't
called
wait for that
Violent
movie,
Night?
dude.
It's called
Way
Violent Night.
more that. I'm gonna deck your halls. He says so many
Oh my
one-liners in
God.
that movie.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
I can't
about
wait for
that.
that. They already played it at like Fantastic Fest and people loved it. So I can't
Yeah.
wait.
Way more than whatever like girl with terminal cancer is falling in love with hot boy from high school movie that's
Hey.
coming out like this season. Like I hate those movies. Who
Hey.
cares?
If I would have told you that Violent Night will be a better film than Halloween Ends, you might not have believed me. Until
No, yeah.
I know.
That's definitely gonna happen for sure. Though.
gonna
Because
it's
I
gonna
saw
be-
that I saw the trailer in like Twitter. Like I didn't watch
Yeah.
the trailer. I saw the premise for it, and I was like, "There's no way in hell I'm gonna watch this." And then I watched the trailer, and I was like, "I'm
I'm
there
gonna
day
watch
one.
Yeah,
this,
I'm there day one. Yeah.
Yes.
Hey,
Yeah.
good for him because his rendition of Hellboy, not that it was like his fault or anything. Obviously, that newer Hellboy movie
Yeah.
was
Mhm.
It
not
was a
good.
mess.
Okay.
Yeah,
I heard it
was
was
very
a mess,
messy.
yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for this long chat. It's been fun, though. Lots of stuff to cover. And then next week, we've got a ton of new games that we'll be talking about. And Derek,
Oh,
hey, enjoy
really?
your Panic
What's
at the
coming out?
Disco concert that you go to every week.
I chimed in with the haven't you people
Oh, I'm
ever
getting off.
heard
Every
of?
single week. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you all for listening and watching. We're out.
Giant boobs, just big giant yabos, just the big.